All right, all right, all right. Yeah. Well, we are live. Everybody, we are live. We're going to talk. We're going to walk, but we're not going to stalk. Now, today, I went to Westlands and shout out to my tailor, NC Nairobi. We're going to wait until we got 100 people watching. Shout out to him. I went to Westlands and what I did was I auditioned. I didn't audition. I did my first commercial ever since I became Austin Holloman. Let's just say that. So it took us about 10 and a half hours to do a 20-second clip. But I did a lot better than I thought thanks to Red Bull because without the Red Bull, I'm not going to lie to you. My mind wasn't moving fast enough, but it was now it's moving fast enough. So I got ready. I enjoyed it. We did what we were supposed to do. I spent the whole day over there. And now I'm back home and I'm about to go off. And a lot of people might not be happy with this live stream today. But y'all know I would never lie to y'all. I find it very hard to lie to people. Like if I don't like your food and you cook it, I'm just gonna tell you I don't like it. So what it do, Passport Prince of Africa, Austin Holloman? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. See, I make sure y'all pull up to the show. We're gonna do a dating comparison in between the three continents that really it's four, but the three that I've been on this year. And we're gonna compare Latin America, which is actually gonna be Brazil. I've been to Brazil and Colombia, but I got the most experience with Latin America with Brazil. So but I think most of Latin America is gonna be able to resemble this anyway. So you guys gonna have to deal with that. And then we're gonna talk about Asia, Southeast Asia in specific, Vietnam, Cambodia, Philippines, Thailand. And we're gonna talk about Africa, Zambia, and let me because I know y'all gonna tell me this. I don't need y'all to tell me this. Y'all say, "Oh, Africa's diverse." Is that I know that I can see that map with my own two damn eyes. I don't need you to remind me that. I can see that size of that continent. I can see that the continent is not that small based off how much the plane tickets cost to get around. So I don't need you to remind me that. But Kenya, dating in Kenya is nothing like dating in Zambia. I hated it in Zambia when it came to dating. I hated it in Ghana when it came to dating. So nothing is the same. But we're gonna base it off Zambia, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya, Senegal. We're gonna base it off all those. And if I feel the need to, I'm gonna break it down country by country. So there will be no alcohol today because I don't need to do that. Yeah, somebody said be careful with the alcohol. I mean the Red Bull intake. Yes, I tried my best, but I had to get the show. They was paying too much for me to flop. I had to make sure I got, Plus I found something new that I enjoyed, and I'm about to sign up for another one that my tailor sent me. So we got about 150 people watching right now on YouTube, and we got the first super chat from Jay Stokes, $5. He says, "This is the new Sunday Rumble." Yes, yes, it is. Just like football on Sundays. I appreciate your super chat. Now, let me give you guys a sneak peek before we start listing out this first point. Some things that we're going to talk about is loyalty, hypergamy, who's the most soft-spoken, who's the most humble, where do you have to compete the heaviest with other foreigners, where are the women the best dressed at, who shows up on time for dates, which yeah, y'all know about that one. Who's the cheapest to court? Meaning, like, if you want to take her to the movies, take her out to eat, where would you get the most bang for your buck? Is what I'm trying to say before I start putting words in my mouth. Who's the easiest to keep around? Who has the best charisma? Because ladies got to have charisma too. I don't want to date a mannequin. Who has the best physical appearance? Who's the best in bed? Who looks the best natural? Which dating scene is the most similar to the West? And who enjoys being manipulated? And I have a story for every single one of them. So let's get it. Because y'all know I don't get online and just say stuff. Y'all know I don't get online and just say stuff without having a story to back it up. So guess what? Today we're gonna tell the honest truth and we're gonna back it up. Let me just start with this too. I've had several Africans since I've been in Africa. African men advise that I lie and manipulate the African women. And I don't like doing that shit. I really just want you to just be a normal person. But the longer I am seeing myself stay here, I'm starting to see why the hell they say that. Because I see just even telling a motherfucker I do YouTube is a problem. And it's not because they see the channel, but I'm not supposed to say, oh, I'm a YouTuber. I'm supposed to say, oh, I work in media. I was with Jay-Z last week. That's what you're supposed to say. And I thought that was bullshit because the guy I was hanging out with in Tanzania told me that. I see that motherfucker wasn't lying. The guys in Rwanda told me that. The guys in Kenya, all of them pretty much have told me that. Ghana, they told me that. So I'm damn. We gonna wait. I'm not gonna curse, even though I did already. I'm not gonna curse. We're gonna wait. Here we go with this. You can't generalize a whole country by a few women you dated. Did you not just hear me say I can say the men from this country just told me that? From Kenya, men from Kenya told me that. No, anonymous. Yeah. Lie about you. No, don't come in here being sensitive and not like a mouse. I'm gonna have to kick you out. I'm sorry. Do not do that. I don't have time for that sensitivity today. Now, he says, do you mean lie about what you do to seem better? Yes. From what they're telling me, it's lie about everything. Lie about what time it is at this point. I'm not even exaggerating. Yeah, they want you to cap it. I'm starting to see that you do have to cap. Not everywhere in the world though. And I'm not even a cap. I'm not even a bragger. I don't even brag. So it's kind of hard for me to adjust to that kind of stuff. Most of the women you showed in Africa are bald headed and they kind of fat. Nah, that's funny though. They're not bald headed. They're not fat. I don't date fat chicks. Now, dating comparison. No, my speech is not slurred. I haven't drank since Friday. Now I'm gonna turn the chat off. Somebody said don't do that. Lying is a big problem in Africa. Apparently not. Apparently it's not. Now, we're going to do a dating comparison from my experience. And like I said, I have a story to back up everyone. And the first point is going to be where have I seen the most loyalty in between the three continents of Asia, Southeast Asia, Africa, and Latin America. I didn't even know people was on the Instagram live. It wasn't updating. Yeah, y'all thought it was funny. What's going on, Yasmin? I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you. I need to talk to you anyway, man. Now, to be straight up with you, I've experienced the most loyalty in Latin America. Just to break it. Number two, I'm gonna have to say Asia, and I'm gonna tell you why. Number three, Africa, and I'm gonna tell you why. So if you guys remember when I first came out on YouTube, what I used to brag about when I was in Brazil was, man, if you meet a chick, she'll hang out with you the whole day, and then you can't get rid of her for the rest of the week. And I don't care. I don't care what nobody says. Men like women that are available to them. There's this new phenomenon of women in 2023. not worldwide, but in some countries, and the United States is one of those countries where women think that, okay, this guy likes me, so let me be less available so it seems like I got shit going on. Let me ask you this. If you go to Pizza Hut and every time you call Pizza Hut, they say they oven ain't working, are you gonna keep calling that damn Pizza Hut? I don't think so. But I'm getting off topic. Now, you couldn't get rid of them in Brazil. Even when I was in Colombia, the ones I would hang out with, when we would hang out, we wouldn't hang out for no 1, 2 hours. We would hang out for 7, 8 hours minimum. In Brazil, it would be like 2 days. They would always spend the night and always pack a toothbrush and always be with you the whole next day. I guess you can call that clingy too, but I mean, I don't. I mean, if it's somebody I like, then clingy is fine. So they said, how can you say that the women in Brazil turned on me? The only people that turned on me in Brazil was gay dudes and women that I wouldn't have even talked to. Now, my second point, but you got a good point by that. Why do I say Asian women are the second most loyal? To be honest to you, in a lot of Asia, they're just as loyal as the money is. I mean, that's worldwide, but you got to emphasize that on Asia. Like that's like my homeboy was just telling me a minute ago. In a lot of parts of the world, they go to the highest bidder, like meaning that you're never secure. It's just like me, right? Like I have a sponsorship with Tees Hanley. That's a face wash company, a skincare company. But if another skincare company comes along with double the price, what am I gonna do? That's kind of like what it's like dating in a lot of these countries in Asia. You can see that. So don't be surprised if you get snuck out on. And number three, I put Africa last. Uh, y'all know I love the African women. I live here. If I didn't love them, I wouldn't be here. But I'm giving my honest review. In my experience, now there's certain African countries because I haven't been to every country because I know y'all gonna say that goofiness. I have been in certain African countries where the women would spend the night and hang out and then go grocery shopping the next day. But I can tell you, actually, it's not even some countries. It's actually one country that was like that. There was only one country that was like that. Was it? Two countries. Two countries. Two countries that was like that. Three countries. I'm sorry, three countries. We're gonna have to add Rwanda on there too. So three countries. But I've been to seven. So that's less than half. You know, 3 times 2 is 6. That's not even half of 7. You know, so the reason I think that it's hard to keep them like where they spend the night and they're kind of clingy is it's going to be another point that I bring up later on in the video. But we gonna get to that. Let's read some comments. Somebody said Latinas can't be trusted. I don't believe that. But I'm not gonna let nobody get on here and talk until I'm done. So y'all write down y'all notes if y'all disagree. Just write them down. I'll let you come up here and talk later. Now we got a super chat from Mark Thompson, and I said in my experience, maybe I had a better experience in Latin America than you, but in my experience, that's what it was. I lived in Africa now for damn near 6 months. I was in Asia for 4 months. I was in Latin America for 4 months. So that's enough time to make a solid judgment. And I was single the whole time. So I mean, I definitely got to get some experience in. So Mark Thompson says, popcorn ready for this one, brother. Day one never stop. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being a day one. Thank you for leaving a super chat. Andre and Andrea Love Crossing Board says, click that like button, 240. in here and only 70 likes. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you, Marlo the Doberman, for tuning in. Thank you very much. Now, number two, where have I experienced the most hypergamy at? Y'all, can we put in the chat what y'all think is gonna be? Because y'all should know this one. Who is really like, oh, I'm going to the highest bidder? So we got two Africas, we got one America, which is true, but one Asian. Somebody put Kate. Now I ain't gonna lie to you. It looks like it's a tie between Africa and Asia. I seen it the most in Asia. Like I think in Asia, it's truly if you the highest bidder, she'll leave her husband. And that I'm talking about Southeast Asia, the four countries I've been to. Not all of them, because I don't think Vietnamese women would be like that. Now, African never leave in circumstance. Now, Asia has everybody knows that Asia that's a big thing, right? That's why you guys have heard me say that men can go to Asia with the least amount of self-improvement, and you can pretty much get anybody you want. I've been saying that for a while now. Now, I put Africa number two. I had an African tell me I had a few Africans over time, but today I had somebody remind me, and he said that in Africa, and I actually can see this with my own eyes. You are really not safe unless if you go live in a village. Like if you're in a big city, uh, you gotta really be like very picky because it's so many foreigners here. And the way how people are raised in some other countries is they say go find the most successful man you can and the one that's gonna spend the most money. And in a lot of countries over here, that's why you see a lot of white guys taking the African women. Why else would they be doing that? Why else would that be such a trend? Because it's for sure a trend in every African country. I noticed it the most in Senegal, but the hypergamy is very real out here. It's very real. But like I said, when I'm talking about Asia, I'm talking about Southeast Asia. I've been to four countries, and it's like what, 5 or 6 over there. So we'll go with that. I cannot accept anybody on the live stream just yet. And lastly, I put Latin America. Like we all know, all women care about have some sort of hypergamy to them. But hey, it could be the worst in Latin America. I'm not saying that. But if it is, they're doing a very good job at hiding it. They are doing a very good job at hiding it in places like Brazil and Colombia. It's there because it's always going to be there worldwide. That's why as men we're taught to be successful, but in Latin America, it's not so in your face. And there's a lot more charm in those relationships there than anywhere else I've been. Everywhere has its plus. It depends on what you value. I mean, if you like a mannequin girlfriend, there's countries for that. If you we got somebody offended. It says that's order. No. Okay, well, I'm talking. Look, we're not talking about that. So next, yeah, if you want a mannequin girlfriend, there's plenty of countries where you can find those at. And by mannequins, I mean like the ones that basically just sit there and don't have any personality. That's what I'm talking about, mannequins. Now, most soft-spoken women that I've been to in the world, we already know number one, we're gonna have to go with Asia because they're Asian people. Like even the men in Asia aren't as loud as African men or Latin, Brazil. Like Asians are the quietest people in the world, if you ask me. So if you value soft spoken, like I mean, I like it too. I mean, they don't have to be like a church mouse, but if you value that, that's an Asian. Next, I would say Latin America, and then third Africa. And I think Africa is last because I think the language they have with the accents makes their voice makes them speak louder sometimes. Anyway, I don't think that's just what they think. Yeah, somebody said mannequin women in Thailand. Difficult life brings out the hypergamy in a woman. Yeah, of course. Of course. Thank you for telling me that. Now, the next one. Who is the most humble worldwide that I've dealt with? And I'm going to have to go number one with Latin America. In Latin America, it doesn't cost much to like there's no, and I haven't really experienced let's reword this. Who is the most entitled? I haven't experienced much entitlement in Latin America nor Asia, but they are entitled. In Africa, I'm not gonna lie to you, I have experienced some, not like the United States, not to that level, but I have experienced it noticeably, but not enough to make me want to leave. It was just like, I noticed that here because that's why I'm still here. But I noticed nothing is as bad as the States. But I'm just saying in Latin America, I think it was at least Asia, I noticed it a little more than Latin America. And Africa, I noticed it more than all of them. But not enough for me to be like, oh, I don't want to live here because I live in Nairobi. Marlo the Doberman says, in Nairobi, their preference is the white man. We could debate that. We could debate that because I've never said that. I've seen some women in Nairobi with white men, but I've heard people say that. I still think Senegal has them beat with that. Riri and Iggy with the $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Marlo Doberman again. He said this one earlier. $2 super chat. Thank you very much. Now, let's see. We got. Do I like my Mombasa? Yeah. Yeah, you need if you're offended by what I'm saying about Africa, go back to the beginning of the video when I said I'm basing it off the 7 countries I've been to. But I'm glad you're offended because that keeps my engagement up. That means you send more messages that mean that means my video gets rated higher because you're upset. So, for the next point, what continent out of the 3, Africa, Southeast Asia, and Latin America, will you have to compete with the most foreigners when you're trying to date? Now, if you've been to Pattaya, Phuket, Chiang Mai, Bangkok, Ho Chi Minh City, you know that there are a lot of foreigners in those cities. There seem to be just as many foreigners as the locals. I put Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City last for that though. But just because those foreigners are there doesn't mean you're really competing with them that much. Honestly, I thought Asia, you had to compete with foreigners a lot. Africa, if you come to Africa, you will have to you are competing with dudes literally from everywhere. Like everywhere. Like everybody, I don't care what nobody says, especially here in Nairobi, right? You even seen the guy from Kenya say the same thing. And I see the same thing when I'm here. If you, for example, for me, right? If I want to get at like a chick that's like an 8 or a 9 in Nairobi, there's a Nigerian trying to get at her. There's somebody from South Africa trying to get at her. There's a Ghanaian trying to get at her. There's a white guy from England trying to get at her. There's a French guy trying to get at her. There's a German guy. There's another Black American. There's another white American. And there's some rich guy from South America trying to talk to her as well. And there's also an Australian for trying to talk to her as well. And there's also a Black person from the UK try to talk to her as well. I'm dead ass serious. You and people are talking about, oh, that's just club girls. That's every. They all have access to the internet. Number one, so that automatically puts some competition in your life anyway. The internet has made it hard for a lot of us. Like if you were in the 90s and you were having a hard time, I know you're having a hard time now with the internet being out. In Nairobi, in Ghana, in Senegal, in Dar es Salaam, I'm telling you, you are going to be competing with a lot of foreigners. No, somebody said that's on every continent. Yes, it's on every continent, but there is severity to it. In Africa, I have seen the most competition from other foreigners. So that's why I try to tell y'all when I first came out, like, don't think that, oh, I'm gonna go to this country and just say, oh, I'm American and I'm gonna win. No, the fuck you not. That don't mean America is not the only person that has a good currency conversion. People in Finland have a way stronger currency than they do in Tanzania. You know, that you a dude from Brazil can go to Tanzania and have more money than the average person there because of the currency conversion. So don't think that, like, okay, she's like, oh, I got an American, I also got a Canadian. You know, I also got a person from Great Britain where the pound is more valuable than the dollar. So fuck that. I mean, they're really like, fuck that American passport. So that's why I try to tell y'all, you're gonna be competing with other dudes. Doesn't matter. DYB Lifestyle says, bro, I'm in Colombia. I'm not going to Africa because you try to scam me and I'm going to slap you. Thanks for your videos. Keep it going. Thank you for the 40,000 pesos. Yeah, there is a lot of that going on in Africa. It's unfortunate, but what can you do? They say that's the culture. That's what they say. Now, second, when it comes to competing with foreigners, we're going to have to say Asia. If you don't believe me, go look at my videos in Ho Chi Minh City, because we're referring to the big cities. Most of y'all are not going to a village with a population of 500 people. You're just not doing that, and I'm not believing that. Most of y'all will go to a place that has at least 500,000 people or more living in it, and 500,000 is a medium-sized city. I'm talking about big cities though. Somebody said Africans will lean more towards Americans than any other country. Okay. Okay. Now, in Asia, there is a lot of competition, but in my experience, it's not as stiff, especially if you're black, right? Because you're too different. You're too different. Even if you're white, you're too different. Like, there's nobody like Asian people are very different than the rest of everybody. Like, they're very unique. Let's say that. So you have competition with other foreigners, but not as many of the local men. Because I forgot to say in Nairobi too, there are some Kenyan men that are doing well that you got to compete with too. So Cambodia, I think I had the least foreign competition in Cambodia, but Cambodia, there was a reason there wasn't that many foreigners there. It was very, very, very underdeveloped. Very underdeveloped in Phnom Penh. Now, the next point, how long we been on this live now? 29 minutes. The next point. Let me say this too. Latin America, you do have to compete with foreigners, but I'm letting you know right now, it's not as much competition as it is in Africa. Like when I would be in Brazil, if I met a Brazilian, she may know somebody from Australia if she's in Rio. But I cannot tell you the number of times that the women in Salvador said that I've never met a gringo before in person. In Rio, nobody ever told me that. Nobody ever told me they had never met an American in Rio, because that's where we mostly go when we go to Brazil. So you're gonna have to venture out. And we can't say, oh, that's awesome, because you went to Salvador, which is a little off the main tourist zone. Uh Zambia is not in the tourist zone like that. You're still gonna have to compete with foreigners. Senegal is not one of the main tourist spots. Like the main ones that people go to in Africa is Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, and Ghana. I went to plenty of places like Uganda that's not as popular as the other ones, but people know about it. Still was competition from other foreigners there. So that's why I said Latin America had the least amount of that. Just letting you know. Got some people arguing in the comments. Have I been to Tanzania yet? That's why I started that 6 months ago. I see some people are talking about me leaving the United States. You damn right I'm not going back. You ain't finna make me feel like I'm crazy. The United States is a hellhole. People be like, oh, I want to go. I want to go. Go. I understand why y'all want to go. I also understand why the hell I wanted to get out. Now, but I will tell you this: if there's a war, I would be going back. Now, if you want to call into the YouTube live stream, call in on YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and end this live stream on Instagram. I appreciate y'all watching. Now, who is the cheapest to court out of all three? Now, not recently, back in January, there was an article written about Austin Holloman. And I was describing how cheap it was to take a Brazilian woman on a date. But instead, what they decided to put in a news article was saying that I was referring to the price of what it would cost to have sex with them, when we know that was bullshit. Why would I even get online and say that? Now, what I want you to know is in Asia, because the cost of living is going to be cheap, because they don't eat that much food there anyway, well, most of them, it's going to be the cheapest to take them out on dates, take them to the movies, et cetera, et cetera. In Latin America, it's going to be next. My average date in Latin America was no more than $20, unless if you go somewhere expensive. But for the average restaurant, $20. Or one thing I used to save a lot of money doing in Latin America when I was in Brazil, when I wanted to go on a date, I didn't take them out to eat. We went to the beach and we sat on the beach and talked and drank and enjoyed the sunlight. And you get to bond with them better that way anyway. That's why y'all hear me talk about beach culture so much, because that was my thing to do. Like, oh, let's go hang out at the beach, because I like the beach. Somebody told me, like, why don't you take the chicks to bowling? That's boring to me. Sports are boring to me. I don't like sports. I don't care how athletic I look. I do not like sports. I have like a 5-second attention span when it comes to watching football. I cannot watch sports. And somebody says take them to a hookah lounge. To me, that's just like going to a restaurant too. But that's why I always take chicks to restaurants, because I really don't think they want to do nothing else. I'll be like, I want to try to invite her to go hiking. She ain't gonna like that shit. Usually I'm right. Now, Africa is gonna be the most expensive out of those three continents. We know America is gonna be the most expensive on the planet, just about. But Africa, it's not gonna be cheap to court them. Take them to the movies, take them on. Maybe to the movies would be cheap, but if you want to take a chick out to eat at a mid-level restaurant, it's gonna be at least $30 before the drinks. You can drink and eat. Two people in Asia for like 50. I remember Kate and I, when I was in Thailand and we were like in Pattaya, we could have 2 drinks each and have 2 full meals, and that would be $25, $28. Yeah, that's not happening in Kenya. That's not happening. Here's what's crazy about Africa. The more poverty that country has, for some reason, it costs more to actually be there. Like Tanzania is not as developed and all that, just like Kenya is. Or we're gonna do the capital cities. Like Dar es Salaam is not as developed as Nairobi is. On a daily basis, I would spend more money in Dar es Salaam than I would in Nairobi. And I know I said the opposite before, but the longer I stay in Nairobi, I'm starting to see that I was spending a lot of money in Dar es Salaam for the same quality of food. Like what would cost me $15 in Dar es Salaam would cost me like 8 in Nairobi sometimes. Let's read a couple of these super chats. The police tried to scam me in the Dominican Republic. That's never happened to me in Latin America yet. I'm saying yet because it probably will one day. But it's happened to me in Africa before. Recently, very recently, like a week ago. Andre and Andrea loves crossing borders says, I love when dudes who's never been boots on the ground try to tell you when you're wrong. Even in Colombia, Americans have competition. Yeah. Yeah. So I will say this: when I was in Medellin, there was a lot of Germans, there was a lot of Europeans and Canadians and stuff like that over there. But comparing it to Africa and Latin, you gotta think it's just so much competition in Africa. But I was talking about it earlier. I appreciate that 10,000 peso super chat. Mark Thompson says, which country has the best pH balances by majority? We're gonna have to go with Brazil. Thank you for the super chat. Uh, Next, appreciate everything you do for the movement. Leaving America is the only realistic solution for a Western man if he wants a traditional woman. Don't let the hate get to you. You are living every man's dream. Thank you very much for that super chat, and thank you for always super chatting just about every show. I think I truly appreciate it. Now, next on the list. Hey man, how can I call into the show to discuss about this topic? I've been in Brazil and multiple countries in Africa. Give me about 10 more minutes, maybe 15, and then we'll start taking some calls and see what y'all think. Thank you for the €6 super chat. Shout out to Andre from Andre and Love Crossing Borders. Shout out to him as well. Thank you very much for that super chat at 10,000 Colombian pesos super chat. Thank you. Put a one in the chat if you think those guys are right that said that you had to lie to African women. I hope that's not true, because I really don't like lying to people. I don't like that's another job that mean I have to keep up with it. Now, here's one that's really important. Do I still get heat like I did this time last year? No, because last year I was talking way more shit. Now, who shows up on time for dates? And I can actually break this one down country by country. Number one, I would say in Latin America, they hold on. Between Colombia and Brazil, Brazilians were always on time. At the most, like 1 or 2 minutes late. It was rare I had somebody late in Brazil. When I was in Medellin, they were about on average 45 minutes late. They were about on average 45 minutes late. The good thing was they wasn't no call, no showing. They were just bullshitting, meaning that they would call you, hey, I'm still doing my hair. I know I was supposed to be there an hour ago. I'm still doing my hair though. But at least they call and tell you something. At least they not just you just sitting around and you end up leaving. See, when I was in the States, I would just leave. Yeah, you can spend $200 a night in Africa easily. Um, in Asia, from what I seen, I dated in Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia. I didn't date in the Philippines. That I wasn't feeling it enough for that. In Cambodia, they showed up on time. Vietnam, they showing up on time. Thailand, it was iffy. And sometimes not. Now, in Africa, I'm gonna tell you one thing. I've been here 6 months and I've had one person be on time. Now it's just like Colombia, they will call and tell you, hey, you know, I'm late. Just like I did the video of Crystal when I said that, oh, we've reunited, we're back together. She was an hour late. I wasn't lying when I said that. But the thing is, she was calling me, she was sending me pictures of her in the car and at the house. So you give them a little slack when they do that. But there's no tolerance for the no call, no show. Like, oh, I know I'm supposed to meet Austin at 5 o'clock. I'll just get there when I get there. I'm not gonna say nothing. Oh, when you get here, you're gonna be blocked, and you know, don't play with my time like that. Especially if you're not even gonna be convenient enough or polite enough to tell me something. So yeah, just know when you come into Africa, they're not really gonna be in on time like that, like at all. Like there's not been one country I've been to where somebody showed up on time, except the first time here was last week in Nairobi. That was the first time. Now, somebody said, I bet they come on time for white men. I don't know. I had to ask one. Who's the best dressed out of all three continents? I said, honestly, and this is because of Kenya and yeah, just Kenya. I think Kenyans, because of Kenyans, Africans get the best dressed women out of those three continents. I have never seen women as fly as the women I've seen them in Nairobi. And in specific, I'm talking Nairobi. Next, I would say Latin America. They know how to dress very well, very well, but they don't have Kenya beat. Kenyans, the average, it seems like the slightly above average chick, which is a lot of women in Nairobi, can wear her outfits on a runway. And last, I would have to say Asia, but I'm not saying Asian women don't get dressed nice, but it just doesn't stand out like it did in the other two continents. Now, who's the easiest to keep around? So remember I told y'all that in Latin America they would spend the night and they would hang out the next day and they would they you couldn't really get rid of them. I love my MacBook. You couldn't get rid of them in Latin America. I got to read this negative comment here in a second. In Latin America, Brazil, you couldn't really get rid of them. In Asia, they hang around like the chick I dated in Cambodia. She hung around. You guys know Kate hung around. Not really in Vietnam, but that we're gonna let her slide because we didn't hang out until late in the day. Now, in Africa, some countries is better than others. Like I've dated a Nigerian chick, and she would constantly like remind me like I'm missing you, this and that. When I was in Tanzania, I really didn't get that much. Uh, Really, I haven't gotten that anywhere else. I mean, it really is not. They'll keep in touch with you, but they're not clingy from what I could see. Somebody said you are always by yourself. I mean, you are right about that. I am always by myself. It's not that I'm always alone, but you see me more alone than often than not. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. Somebody said they disagree. Don't worry, hold down your disagreements. I'm gonna let y'all do a call in. Who has the best charisma? Meaning, or who's the most flattering? Somebody said Africa is a clingy. I mean, that's to each country. Which one is more? And somebody said Austin's not simping like Zaddy. That has a lot to do with it. But the best who? Which continent of women? Which continent of women would I say is the best with their words? And that's hands down Latin America. I'm talking about Brazil and Colombia. There's certain it's just stuff that they would say that would just be like, damn, like she just know the right things to say to grab my attention. And then next, I would say Africa, especially here in Kenya. The women are very entertaining when you're around them. I I love like when you're going on a date with a Kenyan woman, no matter if she's 30s, 20s, it's a good experience. I can't say that about all of Africa, but I'd say most of it you can still relate to that. It's just Kenya just has the best of that for me. Um, and in Asia, mm, not really. Honestly, if you ask me, most of the people in Asia, most of the women in Asia, Jane, what are you talking about? She's talking about, I'm so sorry for your experience. I just sat here and bragged about Kenya. What are you talking about? Jesus Christ. I think you just like to disagree. You just like to disagree. But in Asia, yeah, I think we're more fantasized in Asia than anything. I think we're more fantasized that way. Somebody asked which continent has the most marriage material when it comes to women. Well, you can put all this stuff together. I'll give you an answer, but really, this is all putting all this stuff together because it depends on what you value out of each one. Like, do you value their style? Do you value how easy they stay around? Do you value who's the most talkative, etc.? Now, somebody wanted me to put this one. Um, who's the best in bed? Mm, definitely gonna have to go with Latin America on that. Then Africa, and then Asia. And I put Asia last because a lot of that just seems super transactional there. Now, best physical appearance. This is going to be a controversial one, but I don't know if it's because in Latin America they show more and there's more of a gym culture, but I definitely have to put number one. Now, I will say that there's between Latin America and some other countries. In Latin America, they have to get it in the gym a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times they have to get in the gym and they have to keep up with it. Because you guys know, like for example, Mexicans have been known for like muffin tops when they get a certain age. So if a Mexican woman does not stay in the gym, she could fall victim to that. Not being racist, I'm just saying. Um, in Africa, I put them, even though that they're more natural and they're gonna stay fine and they're gonna look fine pretty much their whole goddamn life. I don't know how they just blessed, but because they don't have a gym culture, to me, I would put them behind Latin America on that because the African women look good. They don't need to go to the gym for the most part, but the ones that do go, they got that nice waist and the nice hips to the point it just looked like a zipper. It just looked like a zipper going straight up. Now, and last what I'd say Asia because that's just not my preference. That's just not my preference. And I have a right to have my preference. Yes, and this is what I want to talk about. As an American, that spent years in Kenya, I can say the biggest plus is that Kenyan women reciprocate energy. Instead of only talking, they give back. They won't drain your energy like many will. Absolutely. That's why I that's one reason why I enjoy being out here. Because the women definitely had your experience with them definitely makes, you know, how your life is there. Now, who looks the best naturally? I'm definitely gonna have to go with Latin America first. When I was in Brazil, when I was in Colombia, I think I say like 90% of the women I talked to in those countries did not use makeup. In Africa, you guys know that you can't say that. And it's not that the African women don't look beautiful without makeup, but like there's this whole like identity thing over here where we got people bleaching their skin. People that have skin this color, and then when they show up on a date, they face is this color. I'm not bullshitting. Like I've known some other YouTubers, and I ain't gonna, bring them into this because that's a sensitive topic, and I didn't ask them about that. But they have described how some women have been white in the face, and then their skin will look like this. And I don't know why. And the thing is, when they take the makeup off, I asked them like, "Why do you wear makeup? Like you're not like what's wrong? Like what's going on with the culture on the continent that's got y'all thinking y'all have this like need to be white? Be yourself. Skin bleaching. Why do we do that? Why do they do that?" So, you know, and some people are bringing up weave. That's the weave. It is what it is, right? The weave is what it is. I mean, I don't think that has nothing to do with brainwashing or nothing, but whatever. But the skin bleaching, that's I don't know. It kind of hurts my not skin. It kind of hurts my heart to see black women bleaching their skin. Like there's nothing wrong with being dark skinned because you can be light skinned and ugly as hell too. You do know that, right? Just because you light skinned doesn't make you beautiful. Because just because you bleach your skin don't make you pretty. Like if you ugly and dark skin, you're gonna be ugly when you light skin too. When you black, when you gonna bright, you're just gonna be a bright, ugly person. So I mean, just embrace who you are. Now, which dating scene is most similar to the West? We're gonna have to say Africa number one. The reason I say that is because a lot of Africa speaks English, and a lot of women in Africa I've seen with my own eyes watch Cardi B and all these other people that make me cringe. And so they're not exactly like American women, but there's certain traits that you can pick up. Like, I wonder where she learned that at. Let me see who you follow. That's where you got that at. Because I know that didn't come from here. Now, next, I'd have to say Asia. And that's just because of the extreme hypergamy there. It's a lot of hypergamy in Asia. So just know that if you feel like you're spending a lot of money in the United States on dates, it probably won't be in dates in Asia, but it's gonna be something else that you're gonna spend a lot of money on. And it's gonna be money being a huge factor, like a 90% factor of who she picks. I think in other countries, like in Latin America, I put Latin America last. In Latin America, your income probably makes up 40, 50%. And let's not. Somebody just brought up a point from Globalism Black Man. He says he brought up that there's skin bleaching in Asia too. I don't know why. It's not like they get that dark over there anyway. But I don't know what's the belief behind skin bleaching. What's it supposed to do? But it is what it is. Who enjoys being manipulated? Now we brought this up at the beginning of the show. Uh, by manipulated, I'm saying like who do you have to pretend and make it seem like you got this? I've noticed that so far here in Africa, and I was in denial about it for a while. Because I was like, yeah, this is like dating black women where you could be a lot more authentic, which you can be more authentic here. But the more I stay around in certain cities, not all of Africa, certain cities, I'm seeing you do have to lie. And I'm sorry, I'm just gonna have to lose because I don't lie. I've never, I have lied before, not to a woman, but I've never lied. I don't lie about things. That's not my personality. I don't lie to people. Next, I would have to say Asian. Don't know why I said that because last is Latin American. I could just say Latin America. You really don't have to do a lot of lying and manipulating. Like you can be completely honest with a woman in Brazil or Colombia. Oh, I work at the meat packing station. Either she going to deal with you or she not. But I don't recommend lying and manipulating. I think it's too much. I think it ends up messing up the dating market anyway. But I've had Africans tell me today that that's what they like. That's what works. I don't know. So it costs a lot of money to go to different cities in Africa. Now, if you're in the same country, there's usually a train that you can catch to the other side of the country for $7. Like if you want to go from here to Mombasa, that's an hour flight, but it's like a 7 hour train ride, I think. It's $7 for a first class ticket, I think. I went from one side of Senegal all the way to the other side, $20 first class. It's on video. It's a very nice train. Once you're in that country, if they have a train, it's cheap. One thing that's not cheap about Africa is plane rides, flights, no matter where you're going. I once heard O'Shea say in one of his interviews, I think I was interviewing him when I was in Uganda, and he said it's cheaper for him to fly to Dubai and back than it is to fly to the other side of Uganda and back. He can fly to a whole nother continent basically and return than it is to go there in the same country. It's probably gonna be like a 25-minute flight. Austin Holland and I can fly. I was looking up a round trip. I was just curious. What's the round trip flight to Sao Paulo? $1,000 to go to Sao Paulo, Brazil, and come back to Nairobi. It also costs $800 to fly on the same continent from Angola to Nairobi and back. Not even back, one way. A 5 hour flight versus basically flying a whole day for 14, 15 hours to the other side of the world. So forget about traveling. If you think you're going to travel around Africa cheap, forget about it. Or you can risk your life driving. Try to drive through the Congo. Try it. But I'm not actually telling you to try that. I don't recommend it. Typically around the world, when you move away from major cities and tourist destinations, you tend to encounter women who still have more traditional values. Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, That's very true. But would you go live in those areas? Maybe if you're 70 or 60, yes. But for somebody 30, they might not be ready to move to a village in Kenya. Rich Got Rich says hypergamy is the same in every country. Western men just have a leverage because of the currency difference. Also, religious traditions and culture still influence foreign women's behavior. You must always stay red pill aware. Absolutely. Some of the things that red pill teaches you, you do need to know when you leave the country. But for the most part, following the alpha male strategies, him telling you to wait 10 days to text a woman back, don't follow that part. Thank you for the super chats, because that's not gonna work in Nairobi. Bro, the you know what, run Africa, you know that. Yeah, I know. I've done the history. Thank you for the super chat. Gusa says Philippines, Thailand, or Vietnam. In which place do you feel the least sighting of racism in your opinion? That's a tough one. That's a very tough one because I actually really didn't feel much racism in all of them. If I felt, mm, let me just say this: I felt the most welcome in Vietnam, and then I say the Philippines, and then I say Thailand. And it's not that the Thai people don't like you. I think it's just there's so many tourists now; they're probably tired of us. Next question: we gonna get the real Africa review once you leave? Yeah, yeah. It's not gonna. I mean, what I've said is pretty much what I truly believe now, but I probably just can't say what I want. Uh, but it's not going to change too much. Jonathan Anderson, there should be boundaries when it comes to manipulation, also because people are emotionally invested, especially men. I don't promote manipulation at all. I hate manipulation. See, I sit here and I have to think about content, think about what time I got to post, think about this, think about that, talk to my parents, talk about this, do this, and that, manage friends. Oh, I forgot. I got to play a texting game with a woman now. I don't want to do that shit. Do you want to do that? So I don't really advise manipulation, but somebody recommended it when in Africa, so I guess. Thank you for the super chat. Anonymous says, "Who has the best temperament?" Hmm. I would have to put Asia last, or we could say, that's a really hard question. I would put Latin America in the middle. Damn, that's a really hard question. I really haven't. It's hard for me to say that because I haven't gotten in too many arguments. I don't know. So we're gonna open up the call line for some people that want to leave a comment about what I said. So we're gonna drop it in the comments right here. The StreamYard link is up. We will allow 3 people at most at a time. Please do not overtalk anybody else, or I will have to mute you. It's pinned to the top. Now that I've done my sermon without a cigar, we'll do it. I think honestly in Latin America, let's just say this, instead of saying temperament, who did I have the least amount of arguments with? That's still a hard question. It's in between Africa and Latin America, but I'm gonna have to go with Latin America. No, Africa. because the Latin women I have gotten into it with, we didn't argue, but they there was a lot of times they weren't happy with me because I wouldn't do something that they wanted. African women seem a lot more submissive or passive about it. Let's say. Mhm. So we had several people saying, "Can I call in? Can I call in? Can I call in?" The chat line been sitting there for like 2 minutes. Ain't nobody clicked it. Y'all been wanting to call in this whole thing. I'm gonna put it down again. Somebody said, "I still thinks it comes down to the individual female." It always comes down to the individual. We could be talking about serial killers. That could still be an individual scenario. He might not be the serial killer that hide in your bushes and just chop your head off just because some demon in the sky told him to do it. He could be somebody in a gangbanger that just took out so many people. He's considered a serial killer. Anything in the world is always individual, but we generalize so we have a better perspective because we can't. There's 8 billion people on the planet. We can't. There's too many scenarios. So RB is the first caller from Kenya, back on the live stream from last Sunday. What's going on?
I'm not from, well, not much, man, not much. Like, obviously, true supporter. Couldn't wait for this. Just pretty good.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
What
So
you do?
I just wanted to see, was that?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no, I just wanted to kind of like chime in on the conversation of the argumentative type. Like, I think Africans are kind of low key because uh, they still have traditional roles, right? So they understand the position of the man in a relationship more than other women. But the thing is, they play this kind of like a submissive game, but they kind of understand where they'll get you. So they won't play the submissive game for too long. That's why you see more African men get emasculated after a while. Meaning, like if they have to buy a car, they gotta ask their woman if their woman will approve, right? So it's not. I call it like a sugar coal mine, right? A sugar coal mine is you don't know you're in trouble when you're too deep in it. When you're going in, it's sweet, but coming out, is another fucking problem, right? So that's how I see with most African women. But with Western women, like let's say here, you understand that from the get-go. Like you kind of just know that there's gonna be some problems here. But with African women, you'll never find out till it's you're too deep in that motherfucker, right?
So would you say African women cheat?
100%, 100% of the time. Like they're just like any other woman, to be honest with you. They have urges, and sometimes they won't tell their husbands, "Hey, I'm not like really into what you're doing. Like I'm not enjoying the sex more." So what would they do? They would fucking cheat with a coworker, with anybody else. They would really cheat. I even put it this way, right? I would even like look at my own mother and say, this lady cheated on my dad. But knowing what I know now, right? And she's a really conservative, church going type of woman, right?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's how I see it. Yeah, that's how I see it. Yeah, like it's put it this way, as long as we're in this earth and the sun is up, you can never like look at somebody and say that's 100% honest person because they're just human. They have urges, they have like they have wants and needs that not everybody could fulfill, right? Like for example, I like giving an example of Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was really good at the ring. He could knock any motherfucker out. But where did he get defeated at? In the women department, right? He couldn't conquer everything. He had everything. Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, all those people have everything, but they can't beat the woman game. Like that's something you can't beat, and no man can beat it, right? So, like even with just like for example, the technology that's coming, in terms of dildos, in terms of just the whole sexual technology paradigm, it's like there's no dick in this earth that could satisfy a woman more than that technology would, right? So would you
Yeah,
consider like a woman using all these things to be cheating? Yes, you would, because in their mind, they're not with you. They're with something else that's not you, right? So after a while, like your feelings and their feelings drift apart. Is it driven by the technology or is it driven by the mentality? Because if somebody really fucks with you and loves you, then when you're fucking or whatever, you need them to be there with you, right?
correct.
So it's just like you can't it's just like you can't win, but you can always win by understanding what the game is, by understanding what the rules of engagement is. That's the only way you win. But all this other things is just lying to yourself to make yourself feel better at night. Like if you're married to a broad, you're lying to yourself she's there just to feel better. So whenever I see two couples walking down the street, I I even you, I think you should see this. Whenever you see two couples walking down the street, one of them is lying to the other. You just don't know who is lying to whom. Like that's usually the game,
Wow.
right?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
That was good.
it's really true,
So
right?
astroeconomics
I
and the
said
art
no
of war.
lie. Yeah, that's
Yeah, you
hmm
said you said some strong stuff. Astroeconomics. You have something you want to chime in with?
hmm
Hello.
so Austin. So the other thing about this shit is like you talked about like white people in Kenya and black women. So I'll give you this example. For example, I live in Vancouver, probably one of the most expensive cities in North America. If I take a homeless guy, clean him up, let's say go to TJ Maxx or like Nordstrom off the rack type of shit, get him cleaned up and fly to Nairobi, JKIA. By the time we land in Nairobi, that man, that white man, will be approached by 10 women and I'll have zero. What does that tell you? Like Kenya still has this colonial mindset where they think the white man is the ticket to I don't know what, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, right?
Yeah.
So even you're handsome, I'm handsome, but the white man just brings this added advantage to them, either class, either whatever. And you find like most of these women, they're treated really bad with this white guys. They're treated like dogs, if you wanna call it that. But they'll rather stick with that person for their own image than actually have a quality life, right? and and you can see this in Nairobi a lot where like a white man comes around, you see them smile like they've seen, I don't know, Santa or some shit. Like they smile from here to here. But when you come around, regular, you know? It's a weird type of mentality Kenyan people have. And yeah, like they never understand that white people are just there to use them, fulfill their fantasies, and they'll never like give back like a way a brother would do, right? Like it's a weird thing to see, but I guess to each their own. They'll find out later down the road, right?
So do you think every attractive African woman or most attractive African women have a white guy
A
that they're
hundred
dealing with?
percent, 100%. Because yeah, because for example, you see a girl dressed good, they have an iPhone, they're living in one of those posh places and stuff, and then you tell me they don't have like a job they're going to that's bringing them money to support that lifestyle. You're a businessman, I'm a businessman. So you look at income and expense in every single transaction. What am I bringing in? What am I spending? But when that equation is kind of flopped, it doesn't make sense. The weight of the scale is tipped on one side more than the other. Then it means there's got to be something wrong with this equation, right? Cost of goods sold versus the revenues. It has to add up. So whenever you see like most of these women who live, they have cars, they seem to be going out every night, Friday or whatever, and there's no source of income, then that white boy is funding him, or some sugar daddy or some whatever, right? So you gotta look at that. So whenever I meet a girl who I'm interested in, the first question is, what do you do for work? Then it
You know,
comes around. Mhm.
Go ahead, go
Sorry,
ahead, go ahead.
continue.
Finish what you're saying.
Yeah, so it comes around to, they won't tell you exactly what they do, right? They'll get to know, I work in hospitality. Hospitality doing what? Are you a chef? Are you a tour guide? Do you own a travel company? Like, all these questions won't make sense. So I never even ask anymore. I'm there to do a job, and that job is to get laid, have a good time, and on to the next train.
So I've noticed that now that you said that, because I was bringing it up because Paul and I we talk every day, and we
Hmm.
were bringing up there's a lot of chicks in Africa I've met that stay on the same side of town that
Yeah.
I stay in, that I know is expensive for the
Hmm.
average Kenyan or the average
Hmm.
Tanzanian, and they're always out. And they're
Yeah.
dressed they're dressed better than the women in the states, but they don't seem to have a job.
Exactly, right? They
And
don't
I'm
seem
like,
to have a job. They don't seem to go anywhere.
so I've always come to the conclusion that
Hmm.
it's either a white man or a Nigerian that they're dealing with.
With the Nigerian is a dead end road, because the thing with Nigerians, I have friends who are Nigerians, pretty good, like wealthy people. But with Nigerians who are in Kenya, especially, they're doing what we call transit crimes. So, for example, they use the ports with their connections they have in Nairobi or Mombasa to kind of transit drugs into, let's say, countries like Thailand, like all those countries in Asia, right? It's a famous port, and it's easier for you to corrupt people over there. So most Nigerians do that, and they use these chicks as like mules, basically, right? And then the chicks get a cut out of that. So at the end of the day, like, the game is played in such a level that is not even fair to most people, but it's fair to them. So it's a dead end road, meaning they'll get caught up down the road, and they'll lose everything, right? But most of them who are just like chicks, 20, 21, 18, sometimes even 19, or that, who live in those areas, are just like, either they're concubines, meaning like it's a guy who has a wife but also has a girlfriend, and then they kind of put them there, they set them up there, and then the girl has also several boyfriends. They call them fun toys, right? So it's just like that whole thing, it's just a clusterfuck. But I guess somebody gets caught up, because if you don't have true wealth, you can't live that long to see where it will take you. It's like a short-lived drug dealer type of lifestyle, where you get so much money so quick, and then when it stops, the train really stops, right?
Yeah. Well, somebody said you in here
Eh,
snitching.
It's not snitching if it's true, right?
It's out
It
in the
doesn't
open.
matter because it's
It's out in
true.
the open.
Yeah, it's out in the open. It's not snitching. You look at it, you literally see it for yourself, right? So It's just like that's why I normally say, like, if you go to Africa to get a girlfriend, then you just lost off the rip, because like your mentality is, as I said last week, you're tricking basically, which is, there's nothing wrong with tricking, believe me, the economy needs people like you, right? But like, you got to understand the game you're playing here. You're not the only one. There's other, like Austin said, there's an Australian guy, there's an English guy, there's all types of, the Nigerian guy, there's an American guy, there's a Canadian guy like myself. Like, you gotta understand, you're not the only one. You're just a piece of the puzzle, because the mosaic is too big.
Wow. Let's see what astroeconomics has to say.
Yeah, I just had one question. What about Caribbean women? And before you answer that, I just wanted to let you know, yo, we proud of you in America. We try to follow the passport bros and all of that shit, but this is your lane. Like this is your whole industry. So keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Even with the trademark shit, nobody not on that. That's you. So good shit.
Thank you. Well, what do you mean about Caribbean women though? What about them?
Compare them to the Africans and also the Latin.
Well, I know you're in Canada, RB. I don't have much experience with Caribbean women, but what do you think about the Caribbean women versus
Caribbean,
continent?
yeah, yeah. I've dated quite a few Caribbean women, and I would say, with Caribbean women, they're more like, I could see the upfrontness in most Caribbean women. They either like you or they don't like you. Like, that's what I've seen. There's no, like, the fakeness to it is very tiny compared to, I would say, African women, or even like Asian women, right? So on Caribbean women, like, you don't bet on like just sleeping with them or anything. You can have fun, like, meaning go around, like, just kick it like homies. It doesn't matter. I think that's where the edge is with Caribbean women. That's what I think.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
Hey, I want to get in on the temperament. I remember you talked about. Oh, by the way, it's been a minute, Austin. Shout out to you and Paul and Kings and Dreams.
Thank you.
So yeah, yeah. So I wanted to get on the temperament of Asian, Latin American, and African women. If we're just gonna just look at the surface level, you don't know the background of the people that you interact with. I'm gonna say number one, like in terms of temperament, that's not good, is Asian. Number two is going to be Latin American, and you could put Filipino women on in that mix because they carry the Spanish phenotype. And then three, of course, would be African. Now, with the African, the exception, and if people say, "Oh, Will hasn't been with an African," okay, so my avatar, well, I don't know if you can see the photo or not, because sometimes it does show up or doesn't. That's a Blasian. So her father is uh, is African American or Black American or FBA, whatever people call them these days. So so with the African women, the time that you're going to see a temperament that's close to level of spicy would be as if a lot of them come here or another Western country and they lose their native dialect. That's
Okay.
when you'll start to that's when you'll start to see their temperament become unfavorable. And then for Latin American, there's everyone's always heard about the spicy Latina, right? Everyone's always heard that. And the funny thing about Central South American females, think of them like chili peppers, right? They're both hot, they both make you sweat, and if you're not careful, you're gonna have a huge sore ass. Pause.
So what about Thai women, Will? What about Thai women?
Oh, Thai women. The funny thing is that Asian right there is also half Thai. Um, okay, Thai women. I haven't interacted too much with them, with the exception of that one. Uh, I can't really say because when I went to Thailand, I didn't visit Pattaya. I visited Bangkok, pause, and I visited Chiang Mai. So I didn't really get to see much of like the entertainment that was going on over there. or any, like, and I also went with one of my exes over there, so I didn't really have that kind of interaction.
So I will
Um,
say this: there's two types of Thai women, right? You got the Thai women, and that for some reason most black men go over there and deal with. I've noticed those women argue. Then you have the Thai women that nobody from the states will go deal with, or maybe the white dudes that know the game a little better. They'll go deal with him, and it seems like they keep their mouth zipped.
mm. You know what? Yeah. Okay. So um, in general, Asian women in general are good at, I would say, saving face. Where, yeah,
Hmm.
out in public, they're not going to argue with you. Are there exceptions to the rules? Yes, there are always exceptions, but the general rule is usually you're not going to get into an argument with them until you get inside the house and you lock the door. That's when you know that a hurricane's going to come.
Agreed.
Mm.
Agreed.
Category 5.
So let's see, Liebert Spencer, we give you a chance to speak now that you up here.
Oh, hey, what's
Hey, Austin, I'm
up?
gonna drop. I'm gonna drop off and give someone else a chance to get on.
Okay. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Yep. There.
Hey, what's up, bro? I'm in the group with you. We interacted a few times on Facebook back in your Brazil days. But right now, I'm an expat. I'm living in Colombia, well, Cali, Colombia, right now.
Okay.
Please, just wanted to know your honest opinion when you were dealing with Asian women, particularly in Thailand and the Philippines. Were you, like the guy was saying, did you feel like more of the quote unquote thicker women were embracing you a lot more than the pale or skinnier ones that the Europeans go after?
100%. I say this: the women in Asia that skin bleach, most of us are not messing with them, and they're not messing with us either. We know, as being black, we're gonna go for the ones that look the most similar to black women, meaning that they're usually gonna have more weight, or the way how they dress might be similar to what we would see with our own women. And what was that question you asked again? Let me tie it to what I'm saying.
Well, I was saying,
Yeah, what was the last part of the question you asked me?
like, do you think they like kind of embrace you a lot more than say
Uh,
like for what I'm hearing, the Asian women there, the merino looking thicker ones that we consider quote unquote fat in their countries, if they see you're a black
yeah,
American, they'll run after you full speed ahead.
they definitely embrace you, or let's, because some people would disagree that they're not embracing, that they're tolerating you. I'm not gonna say that. Could be that. I think a lot of it's a fetish, but the men from their country, the reason they have skin bleaching, I believe, in Asian countries, because I've heard that the men don't prefer the women that have browner skin. I even did a review on a woman from the Philippines where she said that it's kind of shameful, or they feel bad whenever they have a slight tan.
That's unfortunate.
That's very unfortunate because we don't think nothing's wrong. I actually like Asian women that brown. It adds a different look to than what you're used to seeing. I don't think nothing's wrong with it.
Also, one more thing. When I leave here, my visa is about to expire, so I pretty much either debating on Peru or Brazil. But in your honest opinion, say like Salvador Bahia versus say Rio, what you would say is more they're more tolerant of dealing with Americans, especially if you have limited Portuguese.
So number one, I think you'll get more love in Salvador. I mean, you gonna get love all over Brazil. They love they they're a different breed. But in Salvador, if you are a foreigner, they aren't used to you. And they won't be as patient, I think, with the whole not knowing English thing. But you'll notice a lot more of a connection with them than you would in Rio. Because again, in Rio, I told you they don't. There's not one woman in Rio. I believe that could say, at least let's say the young women that can say even 30. I would say let's make it under 35. That would say, oh, I've never dated someone that's not from a Western country. That's from a Western country. I'm sorry.
Oh, really?
Most women still have had an Australian or an American or somebody from the UK or anybody in Western Europe. In Salvador is not just a hidden city, but it's not. It's that expert level city that you got to know Portuguese to really understand what's going on there. And most of them have not, especially if you go further north outside the tourist zone. Like the women I met from what they call the interior of Bahia, which is just the interior part, the part that's away from the beach, the coast. Those women have never seen foreigners a lot of times, or at
Oh,
least Americans. Let's say that.
also, can you comment on? Well, this one thing I kept hearing there. It came to Brazil, especially with the Afro Brazilian. Can you comment on the white worship, especially the white worship men among the Afro Brazilians that you met?
So there, I've heard Fred speak about it. I've gotten a lot of love. I've had plenty of Black Brazilians that wanted a relationship with me. I just wasn't ready for that. And Fred is he's been in a solid relationship with one for a while now, for years now. We're going on 2 years, I think.
Do Rag Bay, yeah.
Yeah, they were together when I got there, and I think he said he had met her a year before that. So it's been about 2 years, from my understanding, or maybe more. But Brazil is also a place that how the Africans pick the white guys a lot because they have this perspective of what they might do for them or what status it might bring. That's in Brazil too, but it's not as bad. But I will say one thing that is different between Africa and Brazil, and this is obvious why, but it's not obvious why in Brazil. What is to me? There's no black Brazilians in the federal government, and they're not on TV.
Yeah,
Oh shit.
that sucks.
You can Google all the people in the Brazilian federal government. There's not one black one.
Being real, when I until at 17 I saw the movie City of Gods. They didn't teach us in school. I didn't think black Brazilians existed. I thought they all looked like Tom Brady's wife.
Yeah, but that's even if you Google Brazilians, that's what pops up. Even though they have more than 50% of their population being black.
So, Austin, I got this question for you because obviously you've traveled more extensively than I could ever wish for. Um, like something I've always wondered. So you go to London, you go to like all those places. Why is it that blacks basically are the last at the totem pole everywhere you go? And then you find a little bit of sprinkled like blacks on top, but all those blacks on top won't help the ones that are trying to get up on top. Like, why is that? Like, I've always wondered about that. Like, I've never found an answer to that question.
Well, in the states, we have I don't know if it's in Canada, but I know in the states we have a crab in the bucket mentality where we want to step on everybody else to get to the
Yeah.
top and push everybody else down along the way. We,
Hmm.
we'll we'll compete with each other before we help each other. Now,
Because
in
I.
Africa, I don't know why that is.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know why some people would say corruption. I don't know why that's there. I don't know why that's a thing either. But
I think it
that's
goes back like especially in Nairobi. Like I saw your video where you went to the slum area to cut hair and stuff like that. So there's this mural that you passed on. There's this guy called Raila Odinga. I think he's the head of opposition in Kenya. Like that guy literally made all this wealth from that slum. But the slum is still the same way it is since he was in power in the 70s up until date. And the guy is literally fighting to just keep that slum the way it is so he can still be in power. So in my mind, I've always thought, does it have to do with education, maybe? I'm not too sure.
Somebody brought up something in the comments. They brought up slavery,
Yeah,
and I think, and I hate to victimize black people worldwide, but I think colonization and the slave trade probably instilled that in a lot of our minds, and it is still here to this day where you can see it.
because with you, like this is how I see it. With you, you don't have enough support as needed because you've literally done a good job with your videos and showing people, like especially in America and Canada and maybe Europe, that there is a life outside of Canada. There's life outside of the States. There's life outside of all these other places that you consider high class or whatever, right? But I don't understand why you don't have like triple the subscribers that you should. Like as black people, we kind of have to like chip in, prop you up so you can prop up somebody else, and like they keep the train going of people escaping this matrix, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have grown a lot faster than the average YouTuber would have. I
Mm-hmm.
will get I will get triple. I will
Mm-hmm.
get triple the amount of subscribers by this time. By next year, I should have over 200,000 subscribers because I'll be at 100,000 before this year is up, and that's about 18 months it took me to get there. So
That's
it's
what's up.
I don't know. I never thought about it being an issue because I'm black or nothing like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I'll get there.
It is an issue because, like, if you are white and doing the same thing you're doing, probably you'd have like 3 or 4 times more subscribers than you have right now.
That is
But
true.
because you're black, you kind of like get this treatment of, oh, he hates that. Like, why do people look at the hate first? Why don't they look at all the other things you've said that are much more positive? But you'd see like this women. I've kind of like seen people who are attacking your channel as well. Like you kind of see this women saying, he said this about Ghana, he said this about this place, but they don't highlight any of other positive things you've said. Like that's the thing that kind of,
Well, here's something I will say.
yeah,
None of my critics are white.
100%. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I was saying for sure.
None of my critics are white. But I know I got Todd right here. He's been waiting for a while, very patiently. Go ahead and chime in.
let me ask
Um,
you. Right,
go ahead, brother. Go ahead before I go.
I was just feeding off what the guy's saying. I'm just researching a lot of stuff what you've been through and all that. Do you believe that you will definitely get your subscribers skyrocketed, especially from guys from the West, if you say explore Latin America more? If you went to like Honduras, El Salvador, or even Argentina and Peru or Colombia?
Yeah, I'm doing two more African countries after I leave, before I leave, and then I'll go to Latin America. And I'm about to tell you, my subscribers. By the time I do by the time I do as many countries as I did in Africa, which is seven, well, it'll be nine by the time I leave. It'll only take three to have that same amount of impact in my channel that it did in Africa. Like if
Mm.
I do Peru, Trinidad, and Nicaragua, the subscribers that I got this entire time I've been in Africa will happen in those three countries as opposed to the nine that happen here. That will happen here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I was,
crazy.
I was thinking that because a while ago when you were before you hit Africa, you had a lot of support from a lot of guys when you're in Asia and Brazil, but then earlier in the Africa days, you start getting a lot of hate. And
It dropped.
guys were talking about where's Kate. I don't know if you want to speak on that, but you seeing that.
I don't know where she at. I don't know where she at right now. I couldn't tell you. But they do ask that. I haven't seen Kate in like 7 months almost, 6, 7 months. And there's still like the people that were supporting me in Asia just because I landed in Tanzania flipped. A lot of them. A lot of them flipped.
I seen that.
Like that's the problem of like bringing people to your channel, Austin, because what ends up happening is they get used to the person, and then when the person is not in the picture for whatever reason, somebody will say, "See, that's when the hate angle comes in. You couldn't keep a bitch." But
Yeah. Look, I noticed that.
I just
right?
think that you know people got to realize he's young. I've heard people like get on him when he was in Brazil. Oh, that's a grown ass man, and this and that. Like sometimes people forget that when you were 23, 22, look back and see all the things that you done. Did you have one woman? You know, did you have multiple women? You're the best looking you're gonna look in your life. Yeah, he's gonna date women. He's gonna see flaws. The good thing about Austin is he's very mature for his age. I wish I was that mature. And it took for me to go through some bad experiences and go through things in my life to figure out like, hey, I need to chill out and calm down. And he's already got that. So it's like if he see a flaw in a woman that he's already saying, especially dealing with American women over here, we gonna see all the bull crap. So if we go to another country and we see, let's just say 1% of that,
Hmm.
yeah, he gonna move on. He gonna move on to the next. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I was dating a Nigerian chick back in 2011. You know, I tried to get her to eat like the soul food and stuff. She flew all the way from Nigeria out here. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with her, and all she wanted was Burger King. I'm like, what the, hey, bro, mom's in there whipping it up. She didn't want to try nothing. So long story short, she gets sick, and we had to take her to the emergency or whatever. They like you consuming too much junk food or whatever. Not only that, I found out that she had a whole husband in Nigeria, and he allowed her to come over here to soil her royal oats, I guess. And it tripped me out. Like, is that like a norm for Africans to like go to America or go to London? Because I was in London when I go through Heathrow, it'd be a line of Africans in there, a line of them, like way more than me flying in LAX. Is it normal for dudes to send a women over here to allow them to do what they want to do from like African countries?
No, it's a cheating kind of scheme. So uh, I don't know about you, Austin, but what I've found out is the moment you meet a woman and the woman likes you, what ends up happening is they try to convert your mentality from a fact-based mentality into a dream state mentality. So a dream state mentality is where you picture a family, you picture a house, you picture like the whole kind of like family life. Then you fall in love, and then you get to marry them, and then with that, they they kind of put the quills in you too deep for you to say no. It doesn't matter if they had a husband or not. They're just doing this primarily for themselves. So it's a selfish type of pursuit, right? So when she came from Nigeria to the United States, basically what she was doing is she was leaving a past behind her and forging a new path to the future, right? So it didn't matter. The husband probably was told, "Oh, I'm going to further my studies, or I've got this opportunity of a job." But you're the job, you're the opportunity, right? But when you're in the States, you're kind of blinded by the lights. You're the deer in the headlights. You can't see it for what it is till it's too late, till you've signed up. So I did this mistake, but my mistake was in reverse. I married a lady from here, Canada, while we were in university, in my second year of university, right? Bad mistake. I was a hustler. I kept the lights up. I bought myself a house, which kind of went crazy up in value after the 2010 Winter Olympics here in Vancouver. So I didn't see the cash out coming, but I was kind of blinded by the dream state. Oh, this is my chick. I'm gonna have kids with her. I'm gonna have a dog with her. I'm gonna probably have a poodle and a cat, and things are gonna be okay. But when that house hit $1 million, guess what? The lawyers came knocking, and guess what? At the end of it all, I ended up selling the damn thing, right? So it's the same thing they're looking at. It's just like this is a step up. I'm gonna
Mm.
go there, right? It doesn't matter the cost. They'll sell their piece of land in the village to sponsor them to come over, but they gotta work you, and work you like you're this a Rubik's cube puzzle. They gotta get your, they have to know where to press the button for the ATM to rain gold or some, you know. That's how I
I
see it.
I just found it funny, like when I was younger in the '90s into the early 2000s,
Hmm.
like the black women here had a trend, and they were passing it on to other black women. Where if you marry an African dude, so he can come over here and get a green card or whatever, that
Hmm.
they would pay them a certain amount of money, and this was going on for at least like I would say from like '95 to like 2005. It was like hard to not meet a female in California that didn't marry a black dude or African dude, and they were getting paid for it. They wasn't sleeping with them. They wasn't doing anything. I just find it interesting, like that these measures and these steps were happening during this time because it's like every other girl that I met, she's like, "Oh, I'm married." I'm like, "Married? Like, you're only like 19, you know,
Hmm.
20
Hmm.
years old." So I'm like, "What's going on?" She's like, "Oh, you know, I married this African dude so he can have citizenship over here, so he can have a green card." And I
Hmm.
found a lot of that, and it's just like, what is it about Africans that do that? Because that went on for a very long time here
They still
in the
do.
states.
They still do it here in Canada, but now they're getting caught because for you to be in a relationship with somebody, you have to show a trend,
Right.
meaning like you have to show pictures, your family has to know it, your parents have to know it. So like there's this storyline that can't be distorted, right? So that's happened, but back in the day, that used to happen a lot. But the women didn't see like marriage as a thing. They saw the cash flow, meaning
Mhm.
they could tell the dude, hey, if you don't give me 10 grand by this evening, I'm going to report you to immigration. Guess
Right.
what? The dude would come up with the 10 grand, right? So whenever you see that trend, it just tells you that, like men, like for example, single men, like Austin, you, me, us single men, we got like this trump card. We got like the ace of spades in our back pocket, right? We can say no to any of this advances and still continue living a ball ass lifestyle, right? So for me, I would say Austin, as long as he doesn't get into the dream state, because I don't care who you are. It's like it's like magic. If you haven't seen real magic, this is real magic. They can get you there. And once they get you there, it's very hard for a human being to kind of get out of that state. So, for example, there's this scientist called Pavlov, Dmitry Pavlov, I believe. He had this Pavlovian experiment where he would put a dog in a cage. So if the dog goes to one corner, it'd shock the dog. Then the dog would kind of go to the next corner. It'd still shock the dog. So it shocked the dog so many times to the point where the dog submits, totally submits, right? Like if he does this, like the dog knows the consequences. So it's the same thing that this dynamic has created now. So it comes in forms of kids, it comes in forms of marriage, it comes even in form of just mere commitment, where you can say no to somebody, and then they'll pull up like all these schemes to keep you controlled. So either by, let's say, recording your conversation, intimate conversation, and stuff like that, that can damage you and damage your brand and damage your life work. So this is all like a control mechanism. That's why for me I have a rule, which is a stupid rule, but it's genius in itself. I only dick a lady down once. If it's the second time, it's too much. If it's the second time, it's too much. I dick him out once, and hey, man, you got,
And
I got fun, you got fun, and that's it.
I can say this. Back in 2006, I was
Uh-huh.
in Downey in the mall,
Yeah.
and I thought this girl was like, Mexican. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, Mexicans do not like being called Hispanic. So
Mm-hmm.
come to California, do not call them Hispanic. They like being called Mexican.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Long story short, she was from Colombia. I didn't know Downey had like these big mansions. So she stayed in like one of these big houses, whatever. We were talking for a little bit before we met up. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. That Colombian chick to this day is number one as far as like how good it feels. Number one. And
No.
two, her dude got arrested in Colombia,
Mm-hmm.
for dealing drugs or whatever. And I guess he must have some large sentence. But that was the only guy she was with. The only guy she was with. I was probably the second guy. I ain't gonna lie, I was ready to marry her right after our first encounter.
Yeah.
And she was cool, she was great. We were talking for months. And what ended up happening was her peoples was out here dealing some type of drugs and they got raided. But she was in immigration. And where I failed at, I didn't fully get to know her because I was too into her. And what happened, immigration called me. I'm like, because I didn't hear from her for like 4 days. I'm like, man, what's going on? So immigration called me. He was like, oh, such and such. I'm like, yeah. So he started asking me a series of questions, like, what's her favorite color? I'm just guessing at this point. And then he asked me like, asked me just a series of questions. I was just guessing. Man, I got them all wrong, man. They deported her. But I'm telling you that was probably the most solid female that I have ever met in my life. Out of any other race that I've ever dealt with, that was the most solid, and she was from Colombia. I wish I can find her,
Yeah.
but I mean, I've never seen somebody that damn loyal. I just wish I would have took the time out to knew her favorite color and what the immigration officer was asking me, like, what's her dress size and all this other stuff. I wish I would have took the time out to do that. But as far as my experience, Latin women, and I see it here because I'm in California, there's a lot of Mexicans.
Yeah.
Their women do a lot. I mean, they'll stand
Mm-hmm.
on a corner to sell oranges. The husband to set up taco stands. They'll do what they gotta do. And a lot of these Mexican women, they so damn beautiful, man. They're
But
so gorgeous.
do you think they do that out of necessity, or do they do that like because you know
I
because they
think
don't have any other option?
no, they do have a lot of options. And these younger Mexicans are turning into, I told Austin this back when I was in Mexico that it's a cultural problem. The black female culture has spilled out on other cultures. It's like
Yeah.
when Austin was in Thailand, the women twerking. Well, that was invented here. But I can tell you one thing. Before it was called twerking, it was called shaking your ass. And you can, used to be able to look that up on YouTube. You got women in Poland, Russia. They got a whole like little dance hall little thing going on.
Yeah.
What they doing exactly what the women do here. The thing that I like about the Latin community is not that they don't have no other options. It's just they're culturally built like that. So when it becomes a cultural thing,
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're used to. But culturally, they don't mind helping the husband out. You know what I mean? They don't mind, they're family. Like if you ever been to any Latin or Mexican party, they're very family oriented. It's no different than Asia, but just a little bit different. They don't send their women out to like, get with a guy to bring money back to us. They really know how to go out and get it. They know how to go out and get it. And it's just, to me, I'm gonna have to go with Austin on that one. Latin America, Brazil, that way, hands down. Besides the Arabic countries, they got the best women. I told somebody, one of my coworkers, if you want a good woman, You either gonna have to go to Saudi Arabia, somewhere in the Middle East,
So
an Arabic
let
country.
let me
Awesome, right?
ask you this, right? Let me ask you this. Just one question.
Let me ask
So
you before you do that. Hold that thought really quick. Let me touch on these super chats, and then after you ask the question, I'm gonna go to Love Crossing Borders next.
yeah,
Uh,
sure.
so they were
Right quick,
talking to RB. They said, "Hey, huh?
right quick. I just want to know before you do that. There's a big trend that's going on. People are rumors. Be honest. Even though this is maybe a little biased, when it comes to Africa, Asia, and Latin America, if you can like rank them in this order, which is the one you would say that would care about your physical appearance the least?
Mhm.
Asia."
Okay.
But Rich Guy says, because that's because hypergamy is 100% almost over there. Hey, you lost the audience when you said most Nigerians, and then he called you a coon right there. He was talking to RB. Uh,
Okay.
DYB Lifestyle says, I'm American or Black American. I'm not African, nothing. If that's how you feel, I appreciate those super chats. Next caller can choose who to boot. Absolutely. Let's get back on that order wheel. Thank you very much for reminding me about that. Bro, Austin, stop defending Brazil. You was on their local news. I
Damn.
interacted with I interacted with too many Brazilians to generalize them all in one box. And there was a lot of Brazilians that didn't know about that situation until I called and asked them, did they know? Um, KIP Blake says homie spin. He was talking. I think he was talking about either Todd or KB. I appreciate the super chats from everybody. One thing that he did say right here, Eraz for Fries said that subscribers in the black community will damn near drop off if he goes to Europe. And I was about to say that. I was saying that actually earlier. Whenever I do decide to go, which I am going to Latin America, all the Pan African, all these black women that have all of a sudden went from hating me and helping the Brazilian feminists basically make my life a living hell while I was there. Now, remember, I told y'all last time it's fake support from a lot of them. Maybe not all of them, but from a lot of them. Let's see what happens when I go back and I go to Peru. Let's see what happens whenever I go to France and England. Let's just see what happens.
Okay, so that guy calls me a coon, right? Like, probably doesn't even know the meaning of what a coon is. Right? I'm the guy. I'm the guy who has a lot of Nigerian friends. Like I love Nigeria for that matter. So there's no audience lost. The more you get mad, as Austin says, the more you're gonna stick here and listen to this conversation. I had nothing but good things to say about Nigerians. Anyways, so my question to Todd, uh, that I wanted to ask. So let's say you find this perfect woman that you call a perfect woman, right? And then you later on down the road found out that she cheated on you. Would you still have the same sentiment, or would you just stick by her and say, hey, at least she's solid in the 99% of what she did, but she might have slipped up and fucked some other dude?
I've experienced that. Back in the day, women were like that. Like they might slip up one. Nowadays, they slip up more than once. But back
Yeah,
then, I probably, yeah, would have dealt with her, because at the end of the day, I might have slept up once. And what I've learned was, you might get caught up in a situation and you thinking everything's good. You're in a relationship with this woman. Karma is real. And she might slip up. She might not know what you did, but you know what she did. So yeah,
yeah,
you kind of, Montel Jordan. Look at his story with his woman. He messed around on her. She forgave him. She did all this other stuff, and she slipped up and messed around on him. I want to say like maybe 5 or 6 years later, and he had to forgive her, and they still together to this day. You're gonna make mistakes, like you said earlier. We're all humans, but you got women out here, man. Like you can have a slight argument with them, and they're ready to go sleep with somebody else. I've been in relationships where I've seen text messages between her and some other guy, and she's literally begging a guy. You know what I mean? Like begging him, like just because she just can't handle simple things in life. But women back then, yeah, you know, it was a lot. Like Denzel, like look, Denzel Washington cheated on his woman way back in the early 90s. And you know, his son, who's acting now, has got a good movie coming out. You know, he was pissed. You know, he was mad at his dad. He felt like his dad was a failure, but it didn't break the family. You know, even my parents been together, you know, going on 64 years, and their situations wasn't perfect, but it put me in a perfect position to where, you know, I'm able to own property and do things. The thing is, you learn from your decisions. See, as adults, we don't make mistakes. Children and teenagers make mistakes. We make bad decisions as adults, and you either learn from it or your decisions just become some type of addiction. And if you got some type of addiction, nobody can help you with that. Nobody can help you with it.
You
You know,
get the Boyce Watkins type of package deal, right?
no, no, no. I'm just saying the difference between the women back then and now.
Yeah.
You know, on both sides, not just women, just men and women. Like, yeah, dudes were messing up. I got a lot of friends that are married,
Hmm.
and on both sides, you know, as far as their marriage, they wasn't perfect, but they've been together over 20, you know, 30 and 40 years, just like my parents been together 62 years. But what I'm saying is if you're dealing with a woman that, okay, she got caught up, but then she get caught up again, then she keep getting caught up, she keep getting caught up. And it doesn't cheating is not necessarily penetration. Cheating is communicating with another man while you're living with him.
Yeah.
You know, cheating comes in all forms. And that works on both sides. I don't respect dudes that got a solid woman at the house doing what she gotta do, and you out here trying to hang out with me like, bro, like I'm single. You married. Take your ass home. You know what I mean? Like I wish I had what you had. You know what I mean? So it's like it works both sides. I don't think it's a gender war. I just think people need to come to a realization. I always talk because my parents are not boomers. My parents are silent generation. So my
Hmm.
parents were born before the bomb dropped. You know, my dad is 1936. My mom is 1943. So I had the privilege of having grandparents and parents. So if I did have grandparents, they'd be damn near 150 years old or more. You know,
Hmm.
so I had the luxury of being taught to survive. It's not about, oh, I want to sleep with this person, have all these girls do this, do that, do that. It's survival. You know, I asked a chick a question. You know how to put a seed in the ground and plant it? You know how to grow green onions when you buy them from the grocery store? Couldn't answer. All you got to do is take a jar of water and drop some green onions in it. And in 2 days, you got fresh, new green onions. You know what I mean? Like, look, I bullshit you not. I got a whole greenhouse over there.
Wow.
I was taught survival. So if you want to run around here and you want to sleep with Tim, Tom, and Joe, if you know if shit hit the fan, we really hit an apocalypse. I know how to survive. You know what I mean? Just like my father taught me, wherever a tree grow, that's where water is. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, yeah, you can dig 50 feet and get fresh drinking water. If we ever went through a serious apocalypse, majority of the world would die of starvation because they don't even know how to survive. So I can give a damn if a girl want to cheat and sleep around.
But you wouldn't know that going in, right? Going in is like a clean slate of like,
Hey,
yeah, like
RP,
everything. Yeah.
before you finish it, let me touch on this super chat really quick, and then Andre's been patiently waiting. I'm gonna give him a chance to speak on the topic. KIP Blake says the reasons blacks around the world don't help is the same reason you see black women bleaching their skin.
Mm.
Willie Lynch syndrome or colonial mindset.
Yeah.
I would
Agree.
agree. I would
I would
agree.
agree too. Yeah.
Go ahead, Andre.
But then, gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to you, Austin. Uh, in regards to the statement that was just made in the super chat, you also have to take in consideration the rate of return. Let's not forget the ROI when it comes to those that have gone back to help the community. What has happened? Let's not forget the Nipsey Russell-ish situations that are taking place, or those individuals that went back and started businesses or went back to help to teach in some of our communities and were laughed at. Some of the teachers that are black males that teach in some of our high schools that end up having to fight some of the high schoolers in our community in the name of going back to help our community. So let's not forget the ROI. We often talk about why it's not enough. One of the reasons is just from the business sense of life, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes the return that individuals that we don't see on a regular basis, some people just don't think that it's worth the fruit is not worth the squeeze. I mean, the juice is not worth the squeeze. And so sometimes people just sit back and say, I just want to just be an example of being a upward mobile person of color, no matter what color you are, compared to going back into the hood where Aisha and Keisha and them, knowing that I might end up being like Nipsey Russell. We have to take that consideration. A lot of times we don't think about the rate of return regarding that. Regarding YouTube, just want to say that also you're doing an excellent job.
Thank
Over
you.
85% of all YouTube videos don't make it to 1,000 views. 85% of the 90 million YouTubers that upload a video every day, 85% of those will never see 1,000 views. When it comes to YouTubers, where you are, Austin, you are among the 0.078% of us. That means you're on your way to get the same plaque that I got sitting back there, because only 60,000 American-born individuals have made it to over 100,000 subscribers, and you're on your way there. That's how you ended up in the position where you are. And that is among blacks, whites, no matter what color you are. Would you have gotten there faster if you're a white person? Statistically, it doesn't matter. Would you have got there faster if you were a woman? Statistically, it may have mattered, because we know that YouTube is watched more by women than actually men statistically. But even with all those barriers in place, you're doing it fast. I'm telling you what I mentioned to Richie Mack when he was kind of when he was stuck at 80,000, 90,000. He was like, man, I said, do you know how long it took Kevin Samuels to get to 50,000? I said, Kevin Samuels was at 50,000 for 5 years. I said, you guys don't realize how long this man sat at 50,000 subscribers before taking off to 2 million. I said, so for those of us that hit 100,000, 150,000, you put in the work, you're patient, just like you're doing now, Austin, and it's going to pay off. The one thing that Ace Live taught me when I first started doing this, he said, Andre, focus on building your catalog. Don't focus on people buying the music yet. You build the catalog and you'll be like Usher. People will come back and watch some of your old videos as much as they watch some of your new videos. But if you don't have a catalog for them to come to, that's what's going to be problematic. And so that's what you're doing right now, Austin. That's what I'll give you your flowers right now, give you congratulations right now in regards to where you are in YouTube. And remember, man, once you cross that 100,000 subscriber threshold, which you're on your way to, do remember, man, that number is only 60,000 Americans that have ever made it since YouTube started in 2005, over 200 million YouTube channels, and only 60,000 of us have ever made it to 100,000 subscribers. And that even includes a smaller pool of black people. So for what you're doing right now and where you are in 18 months, man, I am extremely, dude, it took me 4 years to get to 100,000. So for you to do it in 18 months, for Zoom to Thailand, Richie Mack, for him to do it in 18 months, just about the same amount of time, I'm proud of you, brothers, man. So at the end of the day, man, keep it going, bro. Keep it going. Now, as far as feel encouraged, man. You among 60,000 people out of 200 million around the world. Oh man, come on, man. Y'all gonna quit it.
Hey, and I do have to say this. I do have to say this real quick. I wouldn't have found Richie Mack if it wasn't for O'Shea. I was following O'Shea way back when he was in Poland. and I wouldn't have found Austin if it wasn't for O'Shea.
Yeah.
So O'Shea was a good contributor to the fact that these guys are where they are, and I
Oh yeah.
completely agree with you saying. But O'Shea, he did give a bigger, broader audience to these two platforms, and O'Shea's been around a long time, man. I followed him, and I go all the way back to 2009. Like people think, and I say this all the time, people think Sotomayor started in 2012. I had my son in 2009. And I remember the mother of my kid complaining about him, like, oh, I can't stand that dude. He down in black women. This is back in 2008,
Yep.
2007.
Yep.
He was around that long. And he was around before O'Shea. I remember when O'Shea, I was just on YouTube, stumbled across his platform. O'Shea has been around for a very long time, just as well
Yeah,
as
right.
Tommy Sotomayor. But he gave a voice for young Austin when I think Austin was only like 21, maybe 20 or 21, and he gave a voice to Kevin Samuels. He
Yeah.
gave a voice to a lot of people, and their audience just boom skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So I give my shouts out to O'Shea for introducing me to Austin because you know only thing I'm concerned about is his safety. That's all I think about all the time. Some days I'm sitting around, I'm like, damn, let me hit Austin up. Is he safe? Because once you start getting a big platform, you know, they come after you.
They're coming for you for sure. And
Yeah.
like for me, I'm just support of all black everything because I realized like with with all this that is going on, I try to even go out of my way to shop in all black everything because I all my subscribers on YouTube, the ones I'm subscribed to, are mostly black. 90% of them are black because I realized that we can't keep on preaching the same old, black this, black that, while we are not actually contributing to black
Correct. Correct.
platforms and black businesses, right? So personally, fuck the other people. Like I'm not saying I hate them or anything. I just want to be with my kind, and that's all it is, right?
Yes, yes. Great. Now, Andre, what point were you about to make?
Regarding the women and their temperament across and you guys making attest to this, no matter where you go, Southeast Asia, parts of Africa, South America, a lot of the temperament of the women or the behavior patterns, let's put it like that, whether it be positive or negative of the women, you can also contribute it to the cultural behaviors in the communities or of their families. I'll give you a perfect example. I have never had to correct my wife when it comes to major things. So
Go ahead. Go ahead.
correct my wife because of major things, because her mom, her grandma, all the ladies, her aunties,
Hey, Spencer, I'm muting you because it's a lot of noise. Okay, go ahead.
and all the ladies, by way of culture, will correct and direct my wife in areas to where I don't have to. Me and my wife really don't have any arguments, any rah rah. We've never had a rah rah moment. We've been married 4 years, together 5 years, but that steals from that South American culture of if you always say this, look at the traits of the family, because the family will help you have the type of wife or life or girlfriend that you deserve to have, not just a woman herself, but her family will keep them in check when you don't even have to sit back. I'm on cruise control when it comes to stuff like that. My wife's mom is on like my wife's my wife comes from a very successful family, so it's not like they're all poor and impoverished and please keep him in the family. My wife's family owns land, all of them professionals, everybody's full-time workers and great careers for over 30 years. My wife's mom and dad have been in their same careers. They've owned their property and their land for over 35 years, and so those traits that my wife picked up are also traits that the rest of her family has, and they keep her in check. So a lot of times, if you are in a country where the women don't keep the other women in check, it may be it may cause it to be a little bit more problematic with dealing with women in certain locations, to where in at least in Colombia, as far as my experience is, the women keep women cooking for you. Women keep women cleaning the house. Women keep women getting educations, learning new languages and things like that. It's not necessarily the men saying, "Baby, I need you to cook for me." You don't cook. No, you ain't got to say nothing. Her mama and grandmama them in the kitchen and cooking, and you'll get kicked out the kitchen in many families as a man. So I always look at, my point in saying all that is, I always not just look at the woman that I'm dealing with, but I also look at the family, especially the women in her family, because those are the women that's going to either keep her in check or just let her run wild in your life, like they let her run wild in the last man's life.
And that's exactly what I was saying earlier
Hey, yo,
about
Andre.
a cultural problem. I'm just gonna say this real quick, just touching on what he's saying is that's why I like more Latin women, because they have a cultural base to where nothing outside of that influence the fact that they're gonna get outside of their own cultural base.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that, you know, the women here in America has influenced other women in different cultures, you know, and they're starting to make laws for that in different countries, especially Arabic countries. You know, you had the women twerking, you know, where the slave trade was, and they're like, "Oh, look, you can't come back over here doing that." You know, so it's like with the Latin community, and I just said it earlier, the best woman I've ever had in my life. I'm 40 years old, and the best woman I've ever had in my life was a Colombian woman. Best woman. I mean, the family was traditional. They were nice to me. They were cool. I just didn't know they were with the cocaina. You know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I lost that. You know, I've 40 years old, 9 relationships in 22 years, never found a woman like that. So yeah, the Latin women are culturally, it's hard to break them. It's hard.
Yeah. And just, I think one of you guys had mentioned earlier about you could have a woman, you could have a guy and he's just selling fruit on the side of the road, and his Latin woman is right there with him. You ain't gonna find, if you start you can start a small business in your den or in the spare bedroom in the States, and your woman in the States oftentimes gonna tell you, get back with me when that business blow up. I'll be back. Once you start making 200-300 a year, I'll come back. But as for now, you quitting your job and starting this business, I can't be with you. But you find Latin women that's like,
Hey, yo,
listen, if I got an orange in my hand, you got an orange in my hand, that means we have 2 oranges to sell.
Go
hey, yo,
ahead,
Those are
Andre,
Andre.
right
like
quick.
statistically, like you can say, when you follow the Gaussian curve, you can say they're like rightly skewed, right? Like they're at the far right of the curve. Like it's very hard to find women like that nowadays because of either social media, Instagram, Snapchat, or whatever. They want a meal that's already made, right? Years and years of work, right? All they have to show up is with their beauty and their good smile, and that's their mentality now. So it's
Let me
very hard to
let
hold.
me ask you guys this, by way of your experiences in other countries, and then I'll tell you why I say this in regards to Colombia.
Yo, right quick,
Mhm.
Andre.
Do you guys find that the family units, let's say also you got a girlfriend in one of the countries, and you needed help to buy a piece of property? Does the family rally around you because now you're a part of the unit, or do they not in certain countries, or do they do that in Asia? You see what I'm going with that? Like once
Yeah.
you become a part of the Latin family, all the doors are open. Whatever you need, we got you.
So would you say, like, if you buy that piece of land and you can't make full payments, do you think they'll come through with the other half of, or the
I'm not saying
quarter of
about the
the
payment.
payment?
If you're buying land, that's your responsibility. You're supposed to be a grown ass man. What I'm saying is they make sure that you don't get robbed or green gold, in other words, in regards to purchasing of the land. If you
Could
buying
you
land and
use
you
an
couldn't afford,
example?
right?
Could you
Here's a
use an
perfect
example?
example. With my wife's family, as I mentioned, I'm married. Her brother graduated a couple years from as a mechanic engineer, not just a regular everyday mechanic, but just he really went to school for it, right?
Mhm.
He was one of 4 students that they hired to be a head mechanic for Chevy. In 2020, he graduates. We just so happened to purchase in 2020, where everybody else was going broke during the pandemic. We made substantial money, so we went on ahead and purchased a 2020 Equinox right off the showroom floor. Right, got a great deal, saved $15,000 only because of the pandemic. He ends up becoming the head mechanic for that dealership. So
So
now you have a
he's
family
making about
member,
60,000 a year, 60,
right?
70,000 a year.
Anything that we need done, any work, oil change, if this go wrong, that go wrong, we're saving thousands every year because we have a family member that just so happen to be the head mechanic for the dealership around the corner.
Oh, I'm so
So
look
you see where I'm going with that? So when people sit back and say, well, you going to their, go ahead, brother.
Before you even finish, because I'm an automotive technician, I was accepted to Brunel College in London to be an automotive engineer. I already have 25 credentials. I make 95,000 a year.
That's what's
Okay,
up, brother.
and I work for Frontier, it's an internet communication company in Orange County. And I'm telling you, the resources that I have, the wholesale license that I have. Like I took my friend today just to show him. Like I drive a 2012 SS Camaro. I'm planning on buying a Corvette C8 probably at the end of the year next year. But the alternator itself at the dealer is like $675. So I go to Advance Auto, it's $255. So when you have people that you're around that have resources like that, so I understand what you're saying. You take advantage of that. You take complete advantage of that. Like even if I wanted to do renovation, if I needed plumbing or anything done around my parents' house, you know, because I stay in Huntington Beach, which is not a cheap place to live, but I'm here, you know, I spend time with my parents, you know, they're having some plumbing issues. I still have a wholesale license that I can use. I use my wholesale license in the automotive industry. So essentially what you're saying is if there's somebody in the family that you can use for resources, not necessarily saying that, hey, he's going to pay for everything as well, but hey, I need to get some wood. If a 2x4 at Home Depot is $15, hey, I can get it for 5. Why not take advantage of that? And that's all that he's saying. And the thing with the black community, what I see is people know that I'm intelligent, I'm smart. Instead of using my resources, they envy me.
100%. I
Hey,
agree with
look,
that.
hey,
Love crossing borders
Hey,
because,
RB,
yeah.
RB. Before you touch on that, I see Spencer's. He's been wanting to say something here for a second, and we're gonna bring in the next guest. Go ahead, Spencer.
hey, look, crossing. Since we're both in Cali right now, I've been here for about 3 months. In general, I was just curious. In my experience, I do you feel the same way? Versus Medellin, I've been to, I feel more regular Colombian women would be interested in dating foreigners than say Cali women, because in Cali, I would say they care more about your Spanish speaking ability, your knowledge of Colombian culture. While Medellin, they're as long as you're bred right, they're willing to look at
I didn't hear
that.
your last part that you mentioned.
With Medellin women, they kind of look over that as long as your money's right. For me, it seemed like.
Yeah, but Medellin is a tourist capital. It is the Las Vegas ish of Colombia. So when you're going to Medellin, you kind of take it for what it is. It's Disney World. It's Vegas. It's Venice Beach. It's a place to have fun. It's not a place where a lot of guys go to take serious. Now, when you're looking for somebody serious in a large city, yes, a lot of people go to either Barranquilla or they either come to Cali because Cali is the second largest black population community in all of South America, outside of the city that Austin was talking about in Brazil with the black population. That's the largest in South America. Cali Colombia is the second largest in South America. So if you're looking for sisters that are down to earth, educated, many are not tarnished with tourists because we don't have that many tourists come down here. If it were
Yeah.
me, yes, I would choose Cali Colombia if I'm serious. But if you're coming to just be a tourist and play games, this is not the city for you. It's more or less what you're looking for. Medellin to be more better for guys that are just tourists and they want to throw money in the air and all that stuff. You do that in Medellin. You don't do that here in
Yeah, that's
Cali.
what
But if you're looking for
I.
something serious, yeah,
That's one thing. I had guys that wanted to visit me after was putting Cali on the map about how nice it was, but they're kind of more so on the Cartagena and Medellin like type thing.
yeah,
Like they don't understand that there's really no hookup culture here. They're not gonna sleep
no,
with you on the first night
nope,
unless you're in another type of business. But they kind of say it wasn't like they weren't bum rush. Like me when I was in Medellin, I can go to a Panderia bakery and like have women approach me, paisas, who gets me standing there. While that's not more so the case in Cali, especially like
no,
if you're using a translator for most of the communication.
no. It's not like that. You have to get your started focus on your Spanish because Cali is on the other side of the country. Colombia is the size of Florida. I'm sorry, California and Texas together. So it's a nice size, not too big, but not too small. But as far as it's going back to what Austin was saying, in regards to you got to put in the work as an American and I'll put it like this: you got to put in the work as an American once you leave Cartagena and Medellin. You got to put in the work. You're not the only foreigner down here. You're not the only one that may have a few extra dollars. You're not the only one that has a complexion. You're not the only one that's an American or Canadian or Eastern European. There is competition. So to compete, you have to say, okay, if I'm going to Cali, I got to get my Spanish up. I got to get my salsa in. I got to expect that she's not going to let me hit it the first night. She might let me hit it the third night. But Cali is not a hookup culture unless you get dealing with party girls, pay for play, or scammers. Other than that, if you're looking for something really serious in Colombia, that's what Cali Colombia women are. And that's one of the number one reasons in which you can attest to that women in other cities despise the fact that if you ever tell them that you coming to Cali Colombia, tell your Medellin girl that you coming to Cali and you got an
Oh,
argument coming. Tell
oh
your
yeah, a lot of
Bogota
them.
woman that you coming to Cali, it's gonna be a fight. Tell your woman, and my boy a couple of weeks ago, he told his girl in Bogota that I'm going to Cali. She said, I'm never gonna see you again, am I? He said, what do you mean? He said, Dre, I came to Cali with you guys. He said, I probably talked to her on the phone 2 times, and I swore I thought that was gonna be the one. Yeah, they know that Cali women is a completely different breed of most of the big cities in Colombia. And so you can have the finest Venezuelan in Cartagena with the most beautiful body and complexion and deep dish dimples and green eyes. But tell her you coming to Cali, Colombia. Oh, you're gonna hear it. Because they know they cannot compete with Cali women at all. Nowhere near.
Yeah, the curves here are like the curviest. These are probably like the most curviest Latin women I've ever seen here.
Oh yeah.
Like
Medellin women are flat butted compared to Cali women.
they're plastic in Medellin for real, for real. If we're gonna be honest.
Even
And
even even
also,
even them, even I think just because it's more of African roots, and they celebrate African roots here so much in Cali, Colombia, is really African, kind of like Brazil is. Brazil has an undertone of you'll never forget that they're African. To whereas the United States, we embrace our African Americanness to the nth degree. We don't celebrate our Africanness. So it is in Colombia. Afro-Colombians, the 5 million of them actually celebrate an undertone of an African feel still there. The colors, the textures, how they wear their hair wraps in certain parts of South America still has an African tone about it. To where in the United States, they throw a bonnet on and some flip-flops and they go into the grocery store.
Sir, would you say that's a good place to visit, like Colombia, the first time as a first time visitor?
I would, what, if it were me, in
I
all
did before,
sincerity,
but
go
I
ahead,
did
Spencer.
before. I did when I first got here. Um, I had originally I wasn't supposed to come to Cali. I was going to go to Cartagena, but my friend convinced me to just get that idea. I took the chance here. I was here for about a week before I got to Medellin, and I loved it. Safety wise, in my opinion, I felt more safe in Cali than I ever did in Medellin. Like in Medellin, the safe areas there are not exactly safe. In El Pavado, you can still get robbed at gunpoint in the daytime. Versus if I go to Granada, I can like have my iPhone
Mhm.
out all around
Mhm.
nighttime or on, and nothing will happen.
Like
It's
Cali, you
just
got to go to the unsafe areas. It's like you
exactly.
literally have to go there to find yourself somebody that took your cell phone or try to get you for your wallet. Because and you say, well, what zone, what strata were you in? Well, I was in strata 2 because I was with this fine honey, this with this fine sister. I was in zone 2. Well, that's your fault. You in zone 2, bro. They ain't even got no streets in zone 2. It's all dirt roads. But she fine, Dre. That's why you got robbed by her 2 brothers. That's why 2 brothers robbed you because you ain't got no business being over there.
No, because
That's how Cali's set up.
okay, cool. Because
I've been
I'm
here 4 years. I've been here 5 years, and I've never come close to being robbed. Never come close to losing a cell phone. Never come close to. I even lost a credit card. Lost a credit card.
I'm not scared being robbed.
They actually, they
I'm not a
actually,
tough guy.
they actually held it for me for 2 days.
I'm not a tough guy, but I stay away from just like foolish things, man. Why would you?
Right.
Why would you put yourself in certain situations? Like I'm more
You'll be
familiar with
surprised.
Africa
Be surprised.
because I've been in Congo. I've been in. I'm from Angola. Like I'm originally from Angola. I was
Mhm.
born there. I moved to the Netherlands when I was 4 years old, and I've been back to Angola many times. I've been to Congo. I've been to Morocco, Algeria, Egypt. So like other countries in Africa. I've been to Brazil. Like since 2017, I've been visiting Brazil like almost every year. I've lived there for 6 months, and then since then I've been back like every year, 2 months, 1 month, like just to hang around. Last year I went to Salvador for the first time. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
different because normally I go to Rio. Rio is like it's my hometown. I have all my friends living there and like just everything I need. And it was a different environment, because I saw like the Africanness being more embraced there than and like actually in Rio. So that's I like that. But I thought it was also more quiet than in Rio. Like there were less activities to do. Rio is like a very like it's a crazy city, man. It's like Las Vegas, for you guys in the States. It's you have everything in there, just it's just craziness. A lot of tourists from other parts of the world also come in there, other parts from Brazil that come to party or just to have a good time in Rio. So that's what I like. And like in terms of women being there, of course, it's beautiful. It's
So
beautiful.
now that you've been to all these locations, back to the topic at hand, what Austin was saying, what would you consider some of the locations that you consider some of the best experiences that you've had with some of the ladies? What countries would you consider?
Oh, definitely Rio. Definitely Rio. Uh,
Why?
maybe that's because I've been there the most times. Because I've been there. What I've told you, I've been there. I've lived there for 6 months. The first time in 2017, 2018, I've been back like 2020. Like last year, I've been back 2 months. So um, I think Brazilian women are much more open than like the Western women. Um, it's just a different type of affectionate, that you get from those women, which you don't get from all women in. For example, I live in the Netherlands, and
Mhm.
we have beautiful women here, like the most beautiful, one of the most beautiful women we have here in the Netherlands. But it doesn't compare to the affection that you get from actually these women there. They're more interested. Just looks like it's easier to communicate, and they are more collaborative than the women that live here.
That's what I said earlier. I said earlier that Latin women are more catering because their culture, they don't let no outside culture affect their culture.
Yeah.
Latin women are just more historically, I've looked at a lot of YouTube videos, and YouTube is beyond 2005. It's actually 2001 when it was YOU. No, when it was the
Mhm.
letter U and two. They got sued by a plumbing company, but you wouldn't find it on Google because Google is ran by YouTube. So they were actually the letter U and two. But I used to be on here years and years. I've been on YouTube since I was in high school. When I was in my last years of high school, I set up my Yahoo account. That's been my Yahoo account since 1999. So what he's saying is the Latin women traditionally, not even traditionally, culturally, have more value towards a man that respect them. It's all about a respect thing at the end of the day. If you can accept that culture and you can respect it, you can cross over from where you're from, your culture, they're gonna bring you in. You know what I mean? So yeah, I've been saying it since this live. I just think Latin women just have it better than a lot of women across the globe. The
Do
second
you
I would
think
say,
it's
the second
do
I
you
would say is
think
Germany. Germany.
Do you think it's the family unit? They kept it together as a family unit whereby they grew up with an actual mom who actually trained them on how to be a woman from the time they were little girls into like adulthood. While like us in the West here, we kind of have broken homes, so it's very
Well,
hard.
the problem is it starts with the mother and the father. It starts from the home. You know, I look at my home, right? And I was one of the fortunates in my neighborhood where we was the first to have air conditioning. We was the first to have cable. We was the
Yeah.
first to have a lot of things. But people be like, "Oh, you think you're perfect? You think you're privileged and all this other stuff." But I had to explain to them. My dad fled Texas with my mom. My mom from Midland, Texas. My dad from you know Akron on not no his sister's in Akron, Ohio. He was from Arkansas. They jumped in a car, packed up all their shit, and came out here. I'm sitting on my parents' property. So it's a cultural thing, and it starts from the family. The reason why I say it starts from the family is because I got siblings I haven't seen in 10 years. They're pissed at my parents for some reason. They're pissed at me, but I'm here taking care of my parents. I want my dad legacy to live on. Because I know I've lost 80 something people. I lost 3 people this year. I lose at least 3 to 4 people per year.
Jeez.
And the reason why that is because I've been in one location my entire life. My parents been living in Compton, California since 1969. So I've seen many people go. And one thing I learned from my parents is, and what I try to tell people, I'm not privileged, that they didn't come from shit. My dad worked for McDonnell Douglas with an 8th grade education. Them 745s, them planes Austin flying on, we flying on. My dad very well built. My mom drove buses in Orange County. So I kind of don't care at this point what people fucking think. Oh, you going through this. So what? Sylvester Stallone slept in his car to be where he is now.
Mm-hmm.
All these actors, William Shatner slept in his car when his wife divorced him at the highest peak of Star Trek. We thinking he was making all his money, he wasn't making shit. He still to this day ain't making shit from Star Trek. But he made a way. And the thing is that I try to tell people that my father and my mother taught me is survival. And that's the same thing Austin father and mother taught him. He knows how to survive. So he knows how to check his surroundings. That's why there's no videos or there's nothing coming out of him in some strange situation. When it comes to women, you have to look at her family first. When you meet a woman, see how she gets along with her mother. See how she gets along with her sister. See how she gets along with the women in her family. If she can't get along with the women in her family, how in the hell you even gonna deal with that? So if you go to a Latin country, you don't have to deal with that. Like when I was in Mexico, I was dealing with this. Oh my God, Valerie was so damn fine, but she was so close to her mom. Let me tell you what this girl was doing, because her daddy was, you know, he's not on this planet. This girl going to a university out there. They got universities in Mexico. People don't know that. And I was in Dad Oregon, where she's from, and she's learning to speak English. And not only that, she's going to work to support her mom and her son. And that's an upbringing. You don't just learn that. That's an upbringing. And when you dealing with certain women, and that's what I love about Austin, because all of us, not all of us, but most of us are from the United States. We know the bullshit. We see it. So when Austin goes to a different country, just like I go to a different country, and I start seeing some American shit, let me back off. You know what I mean? Let me leave you alone. I'm gonna move on to the next one. You know what I mean? So you gotta respect the fact that this kid is 23 years old and I'm 40. It's a big ass age gap difference, and he still has the mentality that I have right now. If I deal with a woman and I start seeing certain characteristics, I
Well,
gotta move on.
also for like what you are saying, like for the people who have never been to Latin America, I've just been to Brazil like many times. I've been to different parts in Brazil. I've been to the south, to the north, to like the east. So I've like a broad knowledge about Brazil. Um, like all the glitter is not gold, you know. Like some people, I've been watching actually vibing with Fred, some vlogs of him. I've been watching some vlogs of Austin as well. You know, I think they give like the good description of how it will be like if you go there for the first time. But please don't go there and be a simp, and don't go there be like just like choosing low level women. You know, like the same that you might find in your own country. I don't know where you all guys all
Mm-hmm.
from, but just do your due diligence. You know, go somewhere and represent yourself in a good manner. Like
I would say just
I
adapt yourself.
always think like wherever I go, like I'm a representative of my country. I'm a representative of my people. You know, of my tribe.
Mm-hmm.
So represent yourself well. Don't go there and don't leave like bad.
I would say whatever country you go
Yeah,
to,
Todd,
just a
Todd, I
yes.
want to say this too. I don't know if y'all have noticed. I've started to grow out of that, what you just described, going to other countries and picking similar women that would behave similar to what we would deal with back home. That's part of the reason why I stopped putting them in my videos.
Yeah, you don't have
Right,
to do it, man. It's
right.
good.
And what I'm saying is, one thing I love about Austin, where you should have been a mechanic like me, man, a technician, automotive engineering, because you're so aware of the bullshit right away. And me, I failed for 22 years of I see the bullshit, but I keep trying to work it. It's kind of like having a fucked up car and you just know the engine is just shot, but you just keep trying to fix it, and you're not gonna fix it. You know what I mean? And that's what I respect about him. People be like, oh, they make these YouTube channels and they attack this young man, and just like, for what? The fact that he's aware, he's a little bit more bright, he's a little bit more intelligent. People expect him to have one woman. For what? At his age? For what? So if he sees some bullshit that he's, familiar with, and he want to disassociate himself from that, you know, why be mad at him?
Yeah.
And I want
One
to
of
add
one
this,
of
before
Go
you.
ahead. Go ahead.
I want to ask you this question too, Andre, because Marty, he's been putting some
I was about to go
backlash.
there too. I was about to go the same route.
He's putting some backlash. So he says he thinks that. Well, I don't know what he thinks, but it seems that he has some suspect that because these women are so feminine and they're doing all this stuff, are we just getting the leftover ones that the Colombian men didn't pick or the Brazilian men didn't pick?
That's totally not true, man.
Not
I've
at all.
been with quality women in I've dealt with quality women in Brazil, like very quality women, like women, black women that are like that have high professions, like lawyers, psychologists, nutritionists, like very respectable women. You know, like that's I think
What
that's
my
definitely
first date in Medellin, she was an attorney.
Mm.
In Cartagena, she was a college professor and attorney. In Bogota, she was the head of transportation division. My wife now, she's a corporate tax accountant. When you are a low-level man, even if you have a few dollars, I'm gonna say this again. If you are a low-level thinking man, even though in business you might be successful or in your job you might have a few dollars in the bank, but if you're a low-level thinking man, when you get off the plane, you will attract low-level women. I attract high-level women, even if I have $300 in my pocket.
true.
Why? Because I'm a high-level thinker. So when I get off the plane, how I carry myself, because remember, the universe works like this. I always say this: like will always attract like. The type of women that you attract will always mirror you in the States and when you get off the plane in your new country. So it wasn't even a second thought for me when I got off the plane. Would I attract professional women in Colombia? No, because I attract good, feminine, down to earth sisters in the States. I left the States because of the system, not just because of the sisters. So don't sit back and think that every brother had a bad experience with women in the States and all the women, like, not every brother. Some of us had some feminine women that were down to earth, but the system and the laws in the States I was tired of. I got tired of the red and the blue gang, Republicans and Democrats going after each other, not doing anything for us. That's the red and blue that I was worried about.
And we seeing
I
that
was
right now.
tired.
We seeing
Right.
that right now.
We're about to do a federal shutdown in a couple of weeks because they can't get it together. So the system, not the sisters, is why dudes like me left. And so when I left, knowing that I was dealing with quality women in the States, guess what the universe gave me when I got to other countries? Quality women in Mexico, quality women in other locations, and quality women and a quality wife with a quality family. Because I see what you said, Marty. Marty said some of these wonderful Colombian families will also try to milk you dry for or through their daughter. Absolutely correct. When you are dealing with a beautiful bottom feeder or a good woman, she might be doing great, but the family's doing bad. I'm gonna say something quick. I'm gonna let you guys speak. Back in the day in the States, and my brother probably can attest to this, we used to have a statement among Black people who her family is. Who her family is.
Yeah.
How you doing, young man? What's your last name? Taylor. Oh, how's your grades, sir? I'm all A's and B's in school, and I'm on the track team. All right, just see you got a nice young man with you, baby girl. Now you the Taylors on the west side of Detroit, on the east side of Detroit. Well, we the Taylors on the west side of Detroit. All right, young man. Soon as he leave the house, you know the father would tell his daughter, "Don't bring that boy back here." I don't care if he's all A's on the track. I know them Taylors on the east side of Detroit, and they ain't no good people. Who I still use that when I dated in Colombia. Who her people is. I don't give a damn how many degrees a woman got. I don't care how feminine she is, how good she cook, how many rapers, how much aquadente she can drink. Who her people is. Because I'm coming to another country. I need somebody that's in her family that's a head mechanic, somebody that's an attorney, somebody that owns some land, somebody that owns some property. If they don't just own land, I need people that I can sit back and say, now I'm about a piece of property. Well, Andre, we got an attorney for you in the family. He's been working in the family for years. I need somebody that's going to say, Andre, we got a translator for you in regards to this. I need not just a woman to be on point. I needed the whole family. I told my wife's dad that. Our first conversation, I say, sir, I'm not just looking for a wife. I say, I'm looking for a family. I say, so I'm just like y'all vetting me and see if I'm the right person.
It's one thing that I want to touch on that you're talking about, far as family.
Don't own land, don't own property, and everybody works other than the grandmothers and the little kids. When Monday comes, everybody going to work into their careers. That's what I look for. In other words, who her people is.
You guys are selling this Latin America shit to me. Now I gotta get my swimsuit on and kind of, paddle my way down there. Like I've never, to be honest with you guys, I've never like thought of Latin America the way I'm kind of listening, and it's really, I'd say.
Sorry to interrupt you. Let me connect you to Andre. Would you say that what he just described in Latin America, how common is that here in Africa?
I'd say not like I'd say it's 50-50. I'd say the family part is spot on, but the problem with Africa is like you'll have like one person educated and a bunch of them are shit. So then it becomes like you coming around with from America or from Canada, respectable, educated, but then they'd want to vet you as if they're selling you something. But like once you get into that situation, it gets into a situation where they become the bottom feeder. Now you gotta pay school fees for their siblings. Now you gotta send their mom a little bit of money. So it becomes like a situation where you're getting robbed without a gun, right, to your head. So it's crazy. But as I agree with the family part. Like if she's treating her mother, her siblings with the same type of respect and the same type of like love that you can just see. Forget about like feeling, you can just like literally see and kind of observe and kind of, go grub lunch with them and kind of see the way she's serving her family, the way she's taking care of her family. I think then you got a good woman there for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Andre, he said what he described in Latin America is not easy for someone to link up with. I
It's
think
not
you just
easy. It's
described how
not
you.
easy.
you
It's
know
not
why?
easy for a tourist or a vacationer.
Yes,
If you're only a
that's what I want to say.
vacationer, if and I'm gonna let you speak, in a tourist, then yes, it's hard. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, of course. Andre is your name, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you said actually, it describes the perfect situation because you are not a tourist, you are not a visitor. You are a person who's established himself in Colombia, I believe, right?
Hmm.
And you are like integrated in the culture as well.
Correct.
Okay, I think that most people who want to visit Latin America, they want to go there to just have fun. Or like, do you have other opinion about that?
No, I agree with you 100%. And
Yeah,
that's why I say if you're only on tourist or vacation mode, it'll be a little bit more challenging for
of
you to
course,
vet a family.
of course.
You can meet a
Not looking,
quality young lady,
you're not
but you
looking
don't
for
have
that.
enough
You're just looking for
time
short.
to vet a full family to say, okay, now I'm with this.
Yeah, you are just looking for short-term pleasures, you know.
Well,
And like for me,
for
example,
me,
I had to go to Brazil. I already have been there many times, so I'm very integrated into the culture. I speak Portuguese fluently, you know, like I can communicate with everyone. So for me, it's actually very easy to like to connect with a lady, you know. Like the thing for me is that I know that I won't be there for a long time. I will be there for maybe for a month. Last year I was this year actually I was there for 2 months, and then I have to go back to Europe because I have to handle business. You know, I have to like do my business in Europe, which I do, which I will stay here. And I think for the most people who go there that I know actually also, and people I've brought to Brazil, they went there for a couple of weeks, and of course then it's more difficult to really establish a good relationship like with a female, you know.
Hmm.
well,
And some of the best quality women in these countries, I'm gonna tell a lot of guys don't want to admit this. Some of the best quality women in these countries don't deal with tourists and
No,
vacationers.
I
They
know.
feel like, hey, I'm a quality woman. If you're
Yes.
a quality man and you plan on living here, I'm
Yeah.
down with you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're just a quality dude as a tourist or a vacationer, and I'm
Mhm.
or traveler, meaning country to country,
Yeah.
or just a tourist visiting this one country several times, a lot of the quality women, they'll give you to the bottom feeders. They'll give you to the regular women. They'll let that regular women have you
Mhm.
until you decide to move to their country, and now they want to embrace you. And
Yeah.
well,
you guys, when
that
you guys can
that's the
tell when
thing
you've
that
been
I'm
there
saying.
compared to a week, or compared to the type of women you have when you're there for a month.
Mhm.
That's the thing that I'm saying. When I was practically living in London. I got the Oyster card. I was able to travel freely on their transportation. I saw the relationship with her and her mother and her family. They were very family oriented. Like people shrug London off. Like when I decided to throw a party before I came out there. Every time I would contact her mother, don't let her know I'm coming. I'll be there like the next day or whatever. And I barbecued. Everybody showed up. The thing that I liked about London was the fact that it wasn't just all one melanated people. You had people from Scotland she was related to.
Mhm.
You had people from Ireland, Welsh, all these other places, and they showed up. You know what I mean? My thing is, it's not about like, look, if you're gonna go to a country and you're not gonna be there that long, and you want to soil your royal oats, okay, there's women that do that with. But if you plan on going to a country and you want to be there, each country, even in the United States, there's plenty of fucking women you can meet that you can settle down with. Now,
Yeah.
I had a woman in the UK, the pandemic messed everything up. You know, she was a little stupid too. It's not her fault. She was young, but at the same time, I paid attention to how she had a relationship with her mother, her father. She had a very good relationship with her father. She had a very good relationship with her mother, and she had a very good relationship with her family. That's what I paid attention to the point where I was like, you know what? Let me see how y'all system work. I start Googling how it work in the UK. I'm like, shit, I can make 10 times more money over there than I can here. See, in London, if you get a master's and a bachelor's, they reward you for it. In the United States, if you get a master's and bachelor's, you're a manager at McDonald's. It's a big difference. So, the difference between the UK and United States people is we're more go-getters. They're like they just settle. Oh, I'm here. I got a cool little job. I got somewhere to lay my head. I'm cool. In the United States, we're more like, oh man, we got to do it. We got to move everything. We're like a hamster in a wheel. They're not like that over there, and they don't understand it. But they try to adapt our culture. But if you bring a British person over here to the United States, they want to go back to London. You know what I'm saying? And it's vice versa. So it's like if this is what I'm taking from this conversation you guys was talking about. If you're gonna go to a country to visit, like I said, if you want to soil your royal oats, you know where to go. The locals there tell you where to go. But if you're going to a country, and I'm just speaking for the men that want women, that want a wife, whatever, understand how that government works, understand how their country works, understand how their laws work, and then understand how you can make it and live over there. Because I've done it.
Yeah.
I've done it, bro. Like, I don't mean to do it, but you got to understand. The better you understand, the better you're off in that country, and the better you'll meet a solid woman. You can't just go to a country and expect to meet a solid woman. So this is an oyster card. This is what it takes to travel on transportation in London.
That's for the metro.
The train, the buses. It's not the metro. We have metro here
That's
in
the
the United States.
the subway.
Oyster.
Subway.
Okay, guys. Sorry, but my phone is dying, so it was a nice stream, and I'll catch up with you guys. I'll send you an email, Austin, and then you can connect me with all of this, guys. And
All right,
yeah,
brother.
we can kind of like. I'm really enjoying the stream as well. I'll still watch it from my computer or whatever, but I
Thank you.
really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it.
I
Kind of.
appreciate you again, man.
No worries, bro.
Also, we're gonna wrap up in about 7 minutes. So I'll go ahead and let y'all finish the conversation. But Tyrone said Afro Latino are the best women for black men.
Man, yeah, of course. Listen, I believe there are beautiful women everywhere. Like
Right.
it depends. It depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for a serious relationship and you are a quality person, you can get it everywhere. You can get it in your own country. And I think if you don't can get it in your own country, I don't know, maybe there's something wrong with you. I think you should like strive to be the best person you can be, and being that, of course, you can get whatever you want.
Hey, Neo, I want to ask you a question. Is
Yeah.
that your name, Neo?
No,
Nico.
this is a name that I just found. My name is Pedro.
Pedro. Okay, Pedro. Did
Yeah.
anybody ever tell you look like Porter from the Vikings, the running
No,
back?
never. I don't even know
No,
this.
Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson. My bad.
Who's
Yeah, he
that?
does got the AP look.
Yeah, man, you look like Adrian Peterson like
Football
crazy,
player.
man.
Who's Adrian Peterson?
He's a
Very
running back
famous
for
football player. Yeah.
I think he
Used to
played
the
for the
Vikings.
Vikings for so many years.
Yeah,
Man, let me. I
he's
will.
going
I
to the
will
Hall of
Google him.
Fame.
I will Google
Yeah.
him. I will Google him. No,
He
man.
does got the AP look. That's what's up.
Hey,
That's what's up.
what's your name over here?
Andre.
Andre. I
Adrian
can't
Peterson.
see because the screen's so small. I'm on my phone,
Man,
so I
that's
can't really
wild.
see.
I
Man, you
can
got good insight, man. I've traveled to 9 different countries, and I've never been outside of Mexico. So I want to come over there, and it would be good to have, your info, your contact. So when I do travel over there,
Yeah.
I know how to move and make certain situations and know not to stay in certain places and stuff like that. I would love that, man. if I can
Yeah, just
get
reach
your
out to
contact.
Austin, and Austin will share my information, my email, and all that
Okay.
with you guys. Definitely.
Okay.
Because
Yep.
you're situated in Cali.
Yeah,
Yeah, been in
Cali,
Cali
Compton,
for
California, the home of NWA.
And you
and I'm
sir
in
are in
Cali, Colombia.
Cali, Colombia. Okay, cool. Yeah, because I'm planning to visit. Like I was planning to visit Medellin in March. This like coming March in 2024. Maybe I will travel around a bit in Colombia and see what's up there.
Yeah, you love Colombia, man. Considered the fifth most beautiful city in the world.
Wow.
It's number 22 in the world for medical, where the United States is number 39.
Really?
It is number 5 in the world for clean drinking water. If you come to Colombia, it would take you a year and a half to eat a different fruit in Colombia. If you ate
Really?
a different fruit
Oh,
every
cool.
day, it'd take you a year and a half to go through the fruit.
I love
Colombia is known for its medical, being so good and inexpensive. I know a guy that came down here and actually had he had cancer surgery. And I said, why'd you come down here? He said, I would have had a copay in the States of $12,000. He said, for the same surgery with better service, I only paid $1,200 cash for my cancer surgery. So I came to Colombia. And so just want to say thanks to Austin, thanks to you guys on the panel, thanks to the chat. Make sure you guys get them super chats up. I don't know what we call ourselves doing. I ain't seen a super chat in the last 5-10 minutes. Let's get those super chats up, gentlemen. Got some great information going on this live stream, and continue to support Black male content. I'm out of here, guys. Talk to you guys later.
Later too.
Love.
Hey Austin, hit me up on the back scene, man. I got some questions to ask you. I'm trying to get out the matrix, man. So
Yeah.
I ain't trying to like you know. I always tell you I ain't trying to use your content, but I need to know a secret you know, so I can get out of here, man. I'm tired of being here, man. I make so much money, man, but it's like I go in 7 months, man. I made like what 80? I would say about 60, almost $70,000, bro. And I look at the taxes. I'm already over 10 grand. It's
Yeah, I know in
ridiculous.
California they're getting you for that.
I'm like, man, I can't do this, man. I'm like, I can't do it. But yeah, just hit me up, man. Good live stream. And
Thank you.
I always check on you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And Nico, I appreciate you coming through, and I thank you for the super chat as well.
Yeah, man. Thanks for the opportunity, man. Be good. Thanks,
You as well.
keep up the good content.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Be good.